Ian, Kingdom Hearts
Hello.
3. Hello.
Yes.
Kingdom Hearts 3 is old.
No, don't say that.
It's an old game. That's it's an old game.
How old?
5 years old at the so here's the thing. I don't know if I am going to drop this. I think it just depends on what some other people do. Like if PlayStation or Nintendo do anything next week, which I hope they don't. But I'm either going to drop this on the day of the Japanese release of KH3, or I can do it on the American release, which is when I first played it.
I feel like that
But
would be more appropriate for us.
yeah, I don't know. But then you have at least like one or two assholes that are like, oh, it's not the proper 5-year anniversary of Kingdom Hearts 3. Shut up. God. How are you?
I am doing great. I'm glad to be back, and especially to talk about Kingdom Hearts, which is basically the entire Kingdom Hearts 3 specifically is entirely the reason I found your channel because it was just fun finding a guy who had every like thought I had about like why the fuck is there not like a trailer? Why the fuck are you just showing us like Sora in this thing and there's like 50 billion things going on and you haven't shown anything? Come on, Square, get your act together. So that's how I found your channel in the first place. So it is very surreal that now Kingdom Hearts 3 is old.
5 years old. It was frustrating at the time. Was I remember because it was 2013. It was first announced with that
Yeah.
the E3 trailer, which is still probably just the personal significance of it is probably my all time favorite trailer ever, maybe. And then they did a what was it? They had some kind of I remember when they did the launch party for 2.5 at one of the Walt Disney Studios, and they, of course, showed the audience Kingdom Hearts 3, like a very early like trailer of it that was exclusive to just that event. And I
Yeah, to the
remember
point that
they,
people had to like draw what they saw.
yeah, oh, it was just ridiculous. So then, and I remember too thinking, really, you guys are gonna put this in the trailer they're gonna put this in the video of the event itself. All they do is just the camera just pans over to the faces of the crowd, and they have just look of just pure nirvana on their faces, and it pissed me off so much. I cannot tell you how pissed off I was at that video. And what pissed me off too is that I went to the launch event of 1.5 at the Downtown Disney, and that was an awesome day. And I was really excited, hoping they were going to do that again with 2.5. And of course, the 2.5 launch event is when they decided to do a lottery system because, surprise, surprise, they wanted a limited number of people to show Kingdom Hearts 3 too. Anyway, so this kind of conversation, if people are already upset, like, oh, why aren't you talking about Kingdom Hearts 3 yet? This is okay. This is the kind of topic, I know, maybe not topic. This is the kind of format it's gonna be. It's gonna be normally like when you and I record something. It's because we have like a structure. I have questions I want to ask you. We have a topic that we've decided on, and we're gonna do various elements of it. And while we have a topic, obviously with Kingdom Hearts 3, I have no idea where this is gonna go because it is I've described it as this conversation is going to be like jazz, where it's just going to be very free form, and we'll go with like tangents within tangents. And you know, if that bothers you, if the idea of two Kingdom Hearts 3 nerds going on and on and on about random tangents revolving around Kingdom Hearts 3, maybe this conversation is not for you, but this is the one I want to have because I've had the boring normal conversation about Kingdom Hearts 3 on this channel. If you want that, I did like a 3-part spoiler cast of Kingdom Hearts 3 with Richard like years ago. You can go watch that if you don't like what this podcast is going to be. This is what it is. I have IanWaffles with me. I don't even think I introduced you. I just said, Ian, hello. And that was it. So IanWaffles, welcome back once again.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. This is going to be a very random tangents within tangents filled discussion of Kingdom Hearts 3. One of the most interesting games, in my opinion, to come out within the last decade, I would say, because
Well,
not
how
only with the personal, yeah, it's well with the personal significance for me, the significance for the channel, and just overall my gaming history, the personal significance of it.
Well, I also think I think when you originally made your video, you had said something to the effect of like Kingdom Hearts 3 feels like weirdly not corporate. Like it feels like it actually has some semblance of a soul. Like oh,
Yes,
they kind of make games like this anymore. Or it's just
yes.
kind of doing it just is Kingdom Hearts 3, you know?
I,
Yeah.
I just because it came out at a time also when we were in the, I would say 2019 was kind of like the midway point between when the shoving microtransactions in single player games was starting to like kind of become the norm around that point, which is
Yeah.
greatly aggravating for me personally. It was also the beginning, I would say 2019 was kind of like the beginning of the big emphasis on live services at the time. So to me, Kingdom Hearts 3 felt very old school in a way where it's just, hey, here's a game. It's pretty content rich, even though I think there are some big omissions in it for a Kingdom Hearts game. Here's just a game. There's no bullshit attached to it. You don't have to pay extra for crystals to upgrade your gummy ship or anything like that. Here it is. Because I was worried for a time that Kingdom Hearts 3 was going to be monetized, because Square Enix is not above this shit. I mean, they monetize the hell out of Deus Ex Human Revolution. Or no, what was Mankind Divided? Sorry, not Human Revolution. Mankind Divided, and they had this bullshit microtransactions in it. This is also at the time, I think, with like Avengers was about to come out in a few years, so we all know how that shit show went. And it was just, I was nervous about how Kingdom Hearts 3 was going to be treated by Square Enix. I knew like Nomura, I know the creative side of Kingdom Hearts 3 was going to be all right, but it was the commerce side of Square Enix that I was like, get your grubby little hands off of my Kingdom Hearts 3. And they
Yeah.
did,
To like
thankfully.
pay money for like Damascus or something.
Yeah, yeah. And it was a relief to see that, like, oh, it's just a normal fucking video game. Thank God. Thank you,
Yeah.
God.
Well, I mean, so I guess the main thing that I came in here wanting to know is that I would assume that
Mm-hmm.
both of us on Kingdom Hearts 3's release, we were definitely more on the more positive side, and I would say we were both looking to really enjoy the game. Like I know there was when it first came out, there were either people who really enjoyed it, you know, and then there were those who were like vehemently hated it, right?
Yeah.
And on the side, especially when it came out, that like even if I had some problems with it, I really, really enjoyed my time. Like I
Oh,
remember
yeah.
when it was, I was just like, wow, like this was like a great time. So now obviously it's been 5 years, so we've obviously had time to like get out of one the obvious honeymoon phase, and two kind of like refine and replay and kind of reassess like not only like it as a game, but also it compared to like the other games. Because I know that when KH3 had come out, sure I would play KH2 casually, probably like every other year or so, just like I would usually play it before the end of summer. That was kind of my tradition. But like I wasn't necessarily like engaged with it on that level. It was just more so this is my comfort game that I just really love, and I play it, and you know I have a good time, and you know maybe sometimes I play it while listening to the game, or sometimes I'll listen to it while playing a podcast or something. But once KH3 had come out, I really did go back and like really engage with KH1 and 2 multiple times, especially while making my videos. So the kind of big question I want to go in here is, has KH3 gotten better, worse, or you know somewhere in between where you found more to appreciate but also a lot more to maybe critique?
That's it's a tough question, because at the time, I mean, even 5 years ago, when I think about it, there are absolutely elements of Kingdom Hearts 3 that disappointed me. I'm not going to deny that. Even though I do like the game very much, even now, which I still like the game overall very much, even though there are obvious problems with it. I think at this point I've reached the acceptance phase of my experience with Kingdom Hearts 3,
Okay.
because I remember when the game ended, especially with the end. Oh, and in case you didn't know, this is gonna be full on spoilers, obviously. So at
Yes.
the very end, when Sora and Kairi are sitting on the tree of Destiny Islands, and Sora like fades away, signifying that, oh no, it actually will have a sad ending and it ends on a cliffhanger. I remember I felt like the you ever seen the meme of the meme template of the black guy where he's like happy, he's got this big grin on his
Oh
face,
yeah.
and then the
They're
next
like,
panel is
"Woo!"
just shock. That was basically me during Kingdom Hearts 3, where like when you see like that shot of like the camera like pulling back, and it's like, oh, Sora and Kairi, they're sitting on Destiny Islands, they're finally together, everybody's happy, everybody's having their beach party. Hayner Pensinolette finally get to go to the beach, and Roxas is there, and it's this big happy party and everything. And then I was like, oh, this is so great. And then it ends with him fading away, and I just went, what? And that was it. And I was like, are you kidding me? You're doing
See
this
you
to
in
me
7 years.
again. Yeah, see you in 7 years. See you when you're like 40, dude. Have fun. And it's like, so I even then I think that part, that's the thing, is that it's like there's so many things about Kingdom Hearts 3 that I do appreciate. However, there are just decisions with the storytelling and the writing that just drive me up the fucking wall with how they
Yeah.
do certain things. Kairi, the big one. Kairi's the obvious big one.
So real quick before we get into that, can I bring up two things real fast,
Please
and then
go
we can
ahead.
jump into that. So to give my answer to that question without going too in depth, KH3 for me is a game that has gotten significantly worse. Like not just like, oh, I slightly like I find
Mm.
a few things that I'm just like, oh, I don't like that as much. Now, I am not in the camp of someone who thinks it like ruined the series, or not ruined the series, but like it was like an ultimate, like it didn't give me what I want. Those actually aren't the reasons that I dislike it, and I'll get into that. But K3 is a game that I think has gotten significantly worse for me, um, like to a very big degree. But
Mm-hmm.
then two would be the thing of um well, no, I guess we can just that you were talking about the writing and all that kind of stuff, and kind of your feelings towards it. For me, what it did was it kind of fully made me understand, like, oh, what did I really like about Kingdom Hearts? Because once I played three, I realized, oh, hey, I never really actually cared about much past two in terms of the story. I was more here
Oh
for
wow.
the Disney worlds, or I was more here for like just like the combat and thinking the combat was fun. That was the other point I was going to bring up. Real quick, do you have any hot takes about the combat? Because I feel like we'll mostly want to talk about the story, but I feel like the combat's pretty easy to get like any of our opinions out really fast, and then we can jump into the story. For me, like the combat was just simply be that over time, like the floatiness of it, which is there no matter how anyone wants to deny it.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of makes it to where it just always feels like it's a stop and start, and that significantly compare goes into the fact that you're always getting new attacks, new things, new screen nukes. To where by the time I'm playing through the game, I often, like, even from the first world, I often just feel like it's just so much spectacle that it just becomes overwhelming, and I kind of actually think the game loses personality by every one of your attacks being this big, giant, grand attack that just screen nukes everything in its path. To the point where one of my basically my only gameplay hot take that's remotely interesting is one of my favorite parts of KH2 was the fact that the camera, because it was pulled back, you could always see your party members, and because a lot of their attacks are really, really fast, you could always see them hit the enemies, and they would usually only have like 5 or 6 enemies on screen at a time, unless it was like the little shadows. And so you always could, due to the art direction and how the camera and all that stuff, you could always see your party members
Yes.
contributing to the fight, whether that was in utility or just raw damage. And it was something I really loved about Cage 2, because my favorite part of Kingdom Hearts is the Disney stuff. As a non-Disney person, because I felt that KH2 really invested me in those characters by making them these badass, goofy looking anime characters. And so my biggest problem with KH3 is actually that because Sora is running so fast and all of his attacks make him go so far, and all of his attacks have like a billion fucking damage output, and because the rooms are so big, and because there's always a billion Heartless, I never feel like Donald, Goofy, or any of the world party members are a meaningful part of my story, with a few exceptions, because because I'm just doing so much damage and killing so many Heartless that it just doesn't even feel like I need them. And then when you have something like the attacks that they just freely give you, well, it's free. So it doesn't feel like, oh, I'm going to use all my MP to do knock smash and fucking murder this guy with Goofy. Heck yeah, Goofy. Or, oh, I'm going to choose to use Duck Flare, and then I'm going to have to actually like manipulate like how many times I use his attack. So now it feels like me and Donald are actually like fighting together. I never get that feeling in KH3. And because I love these characters so much, that's something that I feel like the gameplay really takes away from that big bombast. People can have all their thoughts about like difficulty and all that stuff, but for me, like that core heart of the gameplay, like feeling like I'm a part of a team, I feel like is completely gone in 3. So that's kind of my gameplay hot takes.
I would say my gaming hot take is that base the base combat of hitting and defense does not feel good in this game.
No.
And I would say a lot of that does have to do with it's the spectacle is obviously the big one of the big problems. I would say it just simply does not feel right doing basic swings with the keyblade and basic combos, because it always feels like the game, it's like you input one button and the game will do like two or three different moves. Even if you want to cancel out of certain things, it's not refined enough to support this kind of like big spectacle battle, where I feel like the big comparison I can make between Kingdom Hearts 3's combat, where for a game that does rely on spectacle, is something like Bayonetta 2 or Devil May Cry 5, which no matter how crazy those games get, Bayonetta and Dante and all the other characters in DMC 5, they always feel airtight to control. It always feels very precise landing certain moves. And then you have Sora in Kingdom Hearts 3. Whenever you swing the Keyblade, it always feels like there's something at the edge of the Keyblade that's pushing him forward. And it's like, I didn't tell him to do this extra attack. And it gets worse if you add more. Like, you want to get better at the game. You want to unlock more combos to help you in battle. But I feel like the progression is kind of dog shit and kind of ruined in the game because the base combat just doesn't feel good. So why would now the spectacle of it is probably what I would say. I'd say this, like, fundamentally the combat is a problem with Kingdom Hearts 3, but I will say the spectacle and just the eye candy nature of it all, it's like wallpaper. And while I am fully cognizant of the fact that the spectacle is this big band-aid over the problem, I must admit that it is a very nice looking band-aid, and it is fun, especially if you're not playing the game on a very technical level. And I think that's also why, to me, the combat is so inferior to something like Kingdom Hearts 2, obviously. Where Kingdom Hearts 2, I feel like both works as spectacle and a very technical game. I know it in my gut that Kingdom Hearts 3 it was really apparent on this playthrough that it just doesn't feel great to control because it's just so goddamn imprecise and floaty, and the fucking camera just, especially when you lock onto an enemy, that camera just flies all over the battlefield.
Well, especially because a lot of the enemies are flying around because they're like, we have this big space, so let's use it.
Yeah,
it's like, no, come back.
Yeah, it's like they're forcing you to use Sora's dash. They're trying to force you to use the air step. They're trying to force you to use the big like combo. It's like, there came a point, and I remember I did this in one of my other playthroughs of the game, where you can just strictly, using one of these like codes, you can just turn off the attraction flows. You can turn off the flare and the fireworks and all that stuff, the goofy bombardment. You could turn all that shit off and just do basic combat and grand magic. But doing so really highlights, like, oh, the base combat by itself just does not work. So that's why it's laborious, it's tedious, it doesn't feel great to control. So that's why they've felt the need to put this big blanket over the problem with all this spectacle and all these overwhelming options that you have to do.
Just like a billion enemies to fight, Like,
yeah.
Once you don't have Goofy bombardment, then magical ride, and then Splash Mountain, and then then Meteor, and then Firaga, you start to realize, like, oh shit, it's not fun taking out these enemies like one by one.
No, it becomes tedious after a certain point. You either engage with the spectacle of it or just be bored. That's kind of what Kingdom Hearts 3 has. And again, like, I think the combat, I don't want to sound like the combat is is awful. I think while it is imprecise, it's not awful. It does function as it's supposed to, but just if we're getting into the technical nitty gritty of it, I don't think it at all holds a candle to Kingdom Hearts 1's combat or Kingdom Hearts 2. I don't even think it's as good as Birth by Sleep's combat.
Well, and I feel like basically like I think it's a combat system of diminishing returns is what
Yes.
I would say. Is
Yes.
that as I played it more and more, I don't find new things to love about it. I find new things to go, all right, well, I'm kind of getting sick of that, so I will just not use that. Or oh,
Yeah.
okay, well, I guess I gotta. Oh, okay, I got that for free. All right, yeah, yeah, yeah. Like
Yeah.
over time, it just kind of it loses the spectacle because again, that's why limits were so special in Cage 2
Mhm.
because they were the big spectacle. Because you think about it, like, sure, you can think of like Final Form Sora or Endgame Sora, but like for most of the game, Sora is not doing like fucking bonkers crazy like explosions or whatever.
Oh.
That was always dedicated to your limits, and so that made your friends feel special, and it made the attacks feel special because they were these giant, big, like they could take so much health or whatever, or they were just like they had these crazy animations. Um, and you now, like when let's say you go to Toy Story World and you do the Buzz Lightyear one with the rocket, yeah, that's cool or whatever. But I could also do literally the same thing with the Dream Eater limit, and then I could also get Thundaga and screen nuke everyone, and then
Mhm.
I could also get Woody the Olympus one, which I just got, and I can literally summon Pegasus and like rain lightning down from the sky and like fucking nuke everyone. And
Mhm.
then if I wanted to, I can jump on the wall and like fly around with like a blue aura and like flip guys into the air. And then I could do a goofy bombardment. And then, while I'm at it, like let's do the teacups. Like nothing feels special anymore.
No.
Um, and that's fun the first time, and maybe the second time. And maybe the third time you start to find your favorites. And then by the fourth time, you're like, oh, well, this is getting a little mindless. And then by the time I am now, I just kind of feel like, yeah, no, I sure did win the fight. Hooray.
And any time the old games start to approach, like even come close to that, nothing in Kingdom Hearts 2 or 1 have like this level of spectacle and screen clearing shit. But by the time that you get powers that do flirt with that kind of like really powerful stuff, it's literally at the end of the game. You're at the
You're
world
supposed
that
to feel
never
them.
was by that point. You're at the end of the world by that point, and it's like okay, it feels earned. But when literally the first world in the game is giving you all these different options, just oh here's grand magic, here's the attraction flow, here's the Pegasus. It's like okay, well,
This is
all
also while
right,
you're running up a mountain and dodging on rocks.
yes.
And
Where
it's
the
like,
hell did Sora learn how to do that? That's what
well,
I want to know.
he feasibly learned it at the end of Cage 2, but according to this game, I lost all that shit.
Yeah,
But I don't think so. I think I am more powerful than Cage 2 ending Sora.
yeah. And again, like you are like when you go to play as Riku in those little bits before the finale, it's like he doesn't have any of this shit. All he has is just the one special move that he has with his like Honda car looking ass Keyblade, and that's really about it. And then you go to Sora, and it's like, oh, sorry, Sora, you're not a master yet. Oh, by the way, here are powers where you're summoning Disneyland rides and fucking exploding the entire screen of Heartless with your grand magic, and then you have this ability with the Keyblade form
And
change.
Donald
And
can do
yeah,
Meteor, just
Donald
like
can do
in their
Meteor.
level.
Goofy has Bombardment, which just blasts people away if you time it correctly. And it's like, dude, just I I don't believe it. There's this big disconnect between what the story is telling me and what the gameplay is having me do. So
I guess we could talk about actually, we could talk about the lack of reaction commands and how that significantly makes every single enemy suck.
it definitely makes bosses less interesting.
Well, I would say normal enemies because think about it. When you fight, like, what is the difference between when you're now fighting a Dusk versus a sniper enemy versus those plant guys versus like any Heartless or like a Fat Body?
Yeah.
Uh, one of the reasons KH1 could get away with not having reaction commands and it didn't need them is because Sora is significantly slower and slugger, like more sluggish.
Yes.
And therefore, you actually do have to learn the enemy's patterns. You have to know, like, I need to get behind this guy and hit him, or I need like to use gravity to bring him down or whatever. So you
Mhm.
actually have to engage with them on like a very personal level. KH2, because Sora's a lot faster and flashier, now it's more on a basis of like the enemy will attack you, and if you time it right, then if you literally react, then you get like a really cool counter to that character. And what that did for KH2, and it's just so wonderful, is that I can remember like every single Heartless in that game, not by name, but I can remember every single Heartless in that game because I know what their reaction command is, and they were all
Yep.
unique. Like just the basic soldier Heartless. In KH1, they're very threatening because they're actually like the camera's way closer to you, and they're almost like your size in that game because you're a lot shorter, and so it feels like, oh shit, like this guy's coming at me. But in KH2, the camera's pulled back, and like they're just kind of like three of them at once, and you're way taller, so it's like, oh, what are these guys, And so you're attacking them, and then it says Cyclone. You're like, what the fuck is Cyclone? And then Sora just fucking whips around like a U-turn and then just like slashes them in half. And you're like, oh my gosh, that's amazing, And so like you have these memories that are completely tied to every single Heartless, and especially the nobodies. The nobodies really took advantage of the reaction commands, and sometimes made you have to time it even more correctly, which made them feel even more like a threat. But I just remember playing through when you get to Twilight Town, it's like, oh, there's Dusks and there's the sniper guys, and all I'm doing to beat them is attack, 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 click triangle when it tells me to, attack, 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 attack.
Yeah.
And of course, people will say, right, well, you could do that in KH1. Yes, or KH2. Yes, of course you could on like the much lower difficulties, and even on higher difficulties that might work for a few of them. But what I think KH2 actually does a lot better is that, so here's a little thing. I never use drive forms in KH2. I don't like them.
Mm.
And the reason is because they take away my party members. And so I force myself never to use them. And the game is no less fast because every option in 2 can get you the same result if you master it. Whereas KH3, you don't have to master shit. You just have to click what it tells you to click. So for KH2, like, sure, I could just hit the samurai nobody until he dies, right?
Mhm.
Or I could counter him and kill him even faster. Or I could attack the soldier nobody until he explodes. Or I could wait until he says cyclone, line up my attack, and hit 3 enemies at once. So the reaction commands in 2 actually made combat faster. And if you could, and even if they were simple to pull off, being able to pull them off at correct times, like let's say you're near a nobody and there's one next to him. If you do reverse, it doesn't just reverse that nobody; it reverses all the nobodies. So then you have to think, okay, do I just want to attack the one nobody, or do I want to progress on him and then maybe finish my combo breaker on both enemies? And then now they're scattering. So now what do I do? And so there's always these different micromanaging things you have to do. If you want to make the game even more fun. But I can't. The only way to make Kingdom Hearts 3 more fun is to actually remove things entirely. Like,
Yeah.
don't use traction flows.
Yeah.
Don't use what it gives you. Whereas like with drive forms, if I remove those from my playthrough, it doesn't make the game any less fast. And in fact, I can still be faster than drive forms because I know how to use limits properly, magic, combo magic. Having my party member set up, having Goofy Tornado set up, having Donald's AI set up in a certain way. There's so
Mhm.
many different things you can do, and it's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Here are things that only matter to me, but I'm going to bring them up because again, I love Kingdom Hearts, and so therefore, with KH3, I'm always looking for these little details because I just think like they are like obviously like there's games you love just from like a kind of a technical mechanical level, and then
Mhm.
the games I truly love are the ones that immerse me in its world or in even its style. Maybe it's not like, maybe it's not very like, oh, like everything is, it doesn't even feel like a video game, It's like, no, like sometimes games embrace its gaming aspect. I would say KH2 actually really embraces that. And KH1 more embraces being like kind of immersed in like a world and like an atmosphere, But anyway, one of the things that is so amazing about KH2 is the aesthetic variety of it. It's why it is another reason it's one of my favorite games. They're just by the Disney games it chooses, from black and white to Tron's world with like all the blues and the gamey vibe to the like pseudo, the live action or whatever for Pirates of the Caribbean, and then you have
Mhm.
all the crossover elements, and then you have like the different styles of like Hercules and Mulan, and like the explosions in Mulan will be like in the style of the movie. Just it's beautiful. It's a beautiful game. And Halloween Town has literally 2 different aesthetics. It's great. So you go to KH3, and because we have a smaller pool of worlds, and the way they're structured is that Sora kind of just looks the same outside of his texture, outside of obviously the pirate world and the
Mhm.
Monsters Inc. world. And I love those designs, and I think that's great. However, one of the things that was always so impressive to me about KH2 is the command menu. The command menu, if you don't know, for anyone, because like, why would you pay attention to the command menu? Well, when you play the game a million times, you're always looking for something, and there are so many little details on the command menu too that just blow my mind that anyone working on this development team even thought it was worth putting that in. For example, when you're in Beast Castle, if you just move down the command menu, every time you move it, rose petals fall. Just there's always an animation. Every time you pick anything, rose petals fall. For Steamboat Willie, when you go to Timeless River, whenever obviously people know that whenever you're in normal with just wandering around, the command menu is usually blue, and then it will kind of switch to either like red or yellow whenever you're in combat. But did you know that for the special encounters, like for boss fights, you actually will sometimes get even more unique visuals? So, for example, in Timeless River, it's just a little flower there, and then when you get into combat, the flower turns like yellow or whatever. But when you get into combat, like into a boss fight, it adds steamboats, like from the steamboat that's from the world, and they're angry. They're like shooting out smoke in tandem with like the music or whatever, and it just gives off this idea of like it's even more grand. In Pride Lands, whenever you get into a combat encounter, it goes from animals circling the thing to the wildebeest, because like the wildebeest is like the big eccentric, moment, like high tense moment from the movie. But if you go into a boss fight, it turns into the elephant graveyard. So now there are skulls of giant elephants circling the thing. And the KH2 is full of this. If you go to Twilight Town, there are different command menus for almost every room in the mansion. There's a different one for Nominee's room, which
Yep.
transforms it into Chain of Memories. There's a different one for the main room, which is like different from outside in normal Twilight Town. There's a change for when you go into the basement. It's now more like techno-y and stuff. So and these are things that are only going to appear for like one room, but they took the time to do that. And not only did they take the time to do that, but when you pick different items or whatever, like let's say you click party or you click drive, there are unique animations for every single time you click one of these things. And so I say all this to say that KH2 is just endless with like all these little details. And so when I go to KH3 and I see, oh, okay, so what are the little menus going to be like there? Because that's where they can put all the style and stuff in. And you look at it, and it's literally exactly the same from when you go from combat to normal. There's no unique animations for it. If you pick something, it just says magic. Here's magic. It's in a normal text font. There you go.
Hmm.
If you go to limits or not limits, summon or links, just says here's your links. There you go. That's your list of links. There's no unique animation for that. So all those different things are just completely lacking from 3. And to me, like that's where like that to me, like the moment a game has like just like won you over is when you're just like, I wonder if they thought of this. Or you look for something that is so worthless that nobody, like one in like 1,000 people playing this game are gonna find. Yet they took the time to put something there. That's when you just like feel the love that was like crafted into this. And
Yeah.
again, that's not to H3 has no love put into it, but these were the little love things that made Kingdom Hearts special for me. And so when I get to KH3 and it's lacking this, it's lacking the fact that, hey, in KH2, when you go to Port Royal, like well, this might be the same. The health bars will like change desaturation. Here's a little fun detail in KH2. Anytime you go to a live action world like Tron and Pirates of the Caribbean, instead of giving Jack and Tron anime like little portraits or whatever, they are 3D because they're live action. So they're trying to mimic the fact that they're live action. Whereas like every other character, because they're from an animated movie or it's Orin and he's like an anime boy, then they all get 2D portraits. They didn't have to do that. That's such a cool detail. If you go to 100 Acre Wood, I'll go stop in a sec. I know I have a million things. If you go to 100 Acre Wood,
No,
you
please.
you can't use anything in 100 Acre Wood but hitting things. However, every single one of your things, like drive, which will then pull up like all your different things you can transform into. Again, you can't transform into any of those things. Summon, it'll pull up all your summons. You cannot click any of these summons. But if you do that, and this is they particularly did this for 100 Acre Wood. 100 Acre Wood, for every single one of these things, there is a unique animation. So if you click drive, it will then show a log, and then like leaves will fly by. If you click summons, then a tree will appear and it will drop apples just endlessly. If you go to like party, which again, there's no party members, but if you go to party, then it will show leaves flowing. You can't do anything with this stuff. You shouldn't even be looking at this stuff. And yet they took the time to add these little details. And the final thing for the command menu on that is that Winnie the Pooh, the whole thing with it is that it's kind of like it's written by a kid, or the characters kind of think like kids. And so when you go to their locations, it'll say like Pooh's house, and it's spelled HOWSE because that's how a kid might, think to write it. And so for the command menu for KH2, the honey spout is over the O. And so it's commands. It's a U because that's how a kid might think you can spell commands. Genius. Beautiful. So I just, all these little things are things that I really value into And as 3 loses its luster in the gameplay for me, I look for these also little things that are little details that just were really special to me, and they're completely gone. So that's my thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, I love listening to you like talk about the little details in Kingdom Hearts 2 because there's things like you listed that even I'm like, oh my god, I never thought to do that. And to me, that's the difference between a good game and a great game. It's the ones that are truly special are the ones that go the extra mile for all these little details in there that most people will never get to see. But there are those people on the team that care enough to put, an actual like response if a player wants to try something. That's why I like the game so much from people like Kojima, or some of the more like Japanese flavored ones, or I mean hell, even like Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, which I think does an amazing job at that, where there are just tons and tons and tons of little hidden details that are just wonderful. And while Kingdom Hearts 3, it does have some here and there. They're not as, I don't think they're anywhere near as clever as some of the ones that are in KH1 or
They're
KH2.
they're all the ones you would expect, like,
Yes.
"Oh, they're monsters now. Oh, they're toys now."
Yeah.
Oh, that kinda stuff, but it's not gonna be something like, "Oh, hey, did you notice that there are unique Keyblade, like, textures for Timeless River, Halloween Town, and Tron, and they not only made your Keyblades have different textures, but they also made every new texture for every staff and every shield." KH1
Hmm.
doesn't even. So you can go to Halloween Town and you can go through every single staff, every single shield, every single Keyblade, and they came up with a Halloween Town version of that. And it's not even as simple as like, oh, they put dust on it. No, like Oblivion is rotting, and it's got all these copper marks on it or whatever because it's stained. When you do like the sweet memories or whatever, the wood is like brittle and it's breaking down. Whenever you do like the Kingdom Key, like it's a lot darker or whatever. Whenever you do the Timeless River one, it has like a unique like rotting of the metal and stuff. And then for example, one for like the staff that always really impressed me. Donald has a staff where it's like his Thunder Boost one, and it's got like a little dragon, and it's holding this ball in its mouth, and it's like blue. But in Halloween Town, it's made green, and there's like it almost looks like slime is coming out of it. And it's like they didn't have to do that, but they still did. And it makes those worlds feel very special. Where, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure when you go to like, because I've never seen anyone show these, but when you go to like say Port Royal or the Caribbean in 3, your Keyblades aren't any more detailed than they normally are, as far as I can remember. Same thing
No.
with toy box. They're not made to look like blocky or like plasticky or whatever. No, they just look like your normal things. And I also want to be clear that I'm not saying like the developers were lazy. Obviously, this game went through development hell, and I'm sure that a lot of
Yeah.
these things that they were working on were left on the cutting room floor, or just things they couldn't find the time to do. Or as far as I can tell, KH2 is like a very smooth process. Like they made the game relatively quickly, you know. Um, and also like they're not worried about like how many like follicles are on Jack Sparrow's
Yeah.
HD
That's
face, you know.
yeah.
So yeah, so I'm not. I just want to be clear that when I say all these things, this is less a judgment on the people who made it and being like, wow, guys, you really fell from grace, and more so just this is what it is, and these are the things that I value.
Well,
So
it's also a different team too compared
yeah,
to Kingdom Hearts 1 and Kingdom Hearts 2, because the Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 teams, I think these are the teams that are on the Final Fantasy remakes now. And when you play those games, like those have a lot of like hidden details and fun short little things that very few people will actually get to see if they're just doing a normal playthrough. And I agree with you that I don't think Kingdom Hearts 3 was made like lazily or anything like that. It's just I don't think they had the inclination to go the extra mile because the greater focus was put on raw graphical detail. And while I still think Kingdom Hearts 3, just from a graphic standpoint, is one of the most like jaw-droppingly beautiful games I've ever seen. I really think
oh
it
yeah,
looks amazing. It just lacks that extra mile in the details that Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 have. It just doesn't have the little details. It doesn't have the little beyond the obvious spectacle that happens in the combat and in the cutscenes. It doesn't have the little bits of style here and there. And again, I think Kingdom Hearts 3 is a victim of this push to like, oh, more detail, more raw graphical power, do this. Oh, look at our amazing Unreal 4 engines. Look at like Sora, Donald, and Goofy. Look how perfectly lit they are in the Caribbean, and all that stuff is really impressive. It definitely is. It's just that kind of stuff does have a like you mentioned before, a diminishing returns, and the stuff that's going to keep me back and coming back and being continually impressed, like those small details, just is not there. It's I wonder if they would have been able to do more of that if they had been able to make a game during the PlayStation 3 era for the consoles. Because again, it feels almost like Kingdom Hearts 3 is overcompensating for the
Yeah.
lack of a mainline console entry. Where because there's this 2 generation leap now, they feel the need to really push it out and go, look at our graphics, look at the lighting, look, Donald's beak reflects on the surface. It's like I don't need that kind of that does not make a fun game to me. And while I do appreciate that, and while I do think Kingdom Hearts 3 as a whole is an enjoyable game, it doesn't it just lacks those certain things that make it a great game from a stylistic standpoint.
Well,
And
funny enough, like, and I will definitively say this, outside of the Disney recreation scenes, where they really, really went the extra mile to like nail all the little details to basically make it look just like the movie.
oh god,
The
yeah.
animation quality in K, like the actual animation, like moving the characters, expressions, all that stuff, it is not even close. KH2 looks way better than
Oh
3.
really? Oh wow.
It
See,
is it is not even close, and I'm gonna make a video about this because nobody talks about this.
okay.
Um, the character and so it's hard again, it's hard to do this in podcast form, obviously, because I don't have examples. But I went back to be sure. In KH3, you know how in KH2 there were the static models where
Mhm.
Sora has like a flat face, like Donald and Goofy, like they're just kind of like they have like their little stiff animations where they move their arm, not
Yeah.
stiff, but like they have their candid animations where they move their
The
arms or
the
whatever.
Disney animatronic look, yeah.
Yeah. So you have that. And so people will look at 3 and they'll be like, "Oh, they finally got rid of that." This is not true.
No. No,
While they
I
while they
noticed that. I
while
definitely
they
noticed that this time around.
while they probably don't have separate models, maybe they do. They absolutely have the same like obvious difference where you can tell when they are animating the characters like facial animations and like their little expressions, and you can tell when it's Donald and Goofy staring into the distance and they're going,
Yeah.
"Well, Sora," and they're moving their arms, and
Yeah.
like they literally will do the exact same animations.
Yeah.
They'll move their like Goofy does his little arm wiggle thing. Donald will like when he's standing around look around or whatever. And just the amount of actual like animating the characters to like really give them like just a soul is like it is like 90% difference in terms of 2 versus 3, where they like
Hmm.
because they have to make the game look consistently pretty, and because they've removed text conversations, which was a big dumb mistake, because now you have to animate all the like in KH2 there's a lot of scenes where it's like they'll have a cutscene and it kind of establishes the scenario, but then we have to give some exposition, right? So it goes to text cutscenes, which means you can click through it really fast. KH3 refuses to do this, and therefore you get to the Toy Story world and they meet Woody and Buzz and they go, "Whoa, who are you guys?" "Well, we are these guys." "Well, you kind of remind me of these guys and I don't trust you." "Oh, they don't trust us? Well, we need to go look for our friends." "Wait a sec, we'll come with you because we want to also look for our friends." "I don't trust them, Woody." "Well, we kind of have to trust them because they look like they could help." "Yeah, we can help." And then you leave. That would have all been split in half in 2, because half of that, whenever they first meet, would have been in cutscene, and then they would have put that in the text cutscene, and then you could get through it really fast. So because everything has to be animated, they obviously wanted to spend this on the Disney characters because they want to brag about how it looks just like the movies. And when they do the Disney characters, they look fantastic. But when they are doing Sora, Donald, Goofy, and a lot of the anime characters, they are just vacantly staring, even if they do have a bit more mouth movement, or they might be moving their head a little more. But think about like the amount of times in that game where characters will actually like interact and like have to like physically like touch each other. So for example, when they meet Olaf, Donald and Goofy are like just standing around Olaf being like, "Whoa, what's this weird little Santa guy?" And other than Sora, who gets to like pick him up a little bit, Donald and Goofy don't get to interact. Compare that then to KH2, where if you remember the scene, because it's really well animated, they meet Cogsworth for the first time. And
Oh
then
yeah.
and then Donald picks him up, and then he starts shaking her or whatever. And then while they're giving exposition because they want something interesting to look at, they have this whole little thing of like they're animating Cogsworth as he's on his back, and Donald like opens up his little chest or whatever, starts playing with like the little clock inside, and he slams it shut, and then he has to put him back. And then Goofy is like, "Oh, did these guys put a spell on you too?" And his ears are flopping all around, and he's got like a little weird sly look on his face, like, "What the fuck is this?" There's so many times in 2, not 1. 1 very much had to conserve a lot of its animation. 2 especially just had so many moments where the characters are just like they look incredible, like genuinely incredible in terms of like the animation they're doing, the faces and the movements and stuff like that. And like they will physically interact with each other. KH3 really, really tries to not do that. And it just has way less unique character expressions. So as I'm watching it, Donald usually gets the most out of it. Goofy is usually just like vacantly staring, and so is Sora a lot of times. So just another way in which, like, sure, raw graphically, like again, I can see all the pores on Jack Sparrow's fucking face. I don't care because the actual characters I want to be invested in, which is Sora, Donald, and Goofy, and how they're interacting with these Disney characters, that has been completely sapped away almost because they need to animate all this other shit. So again, I'll make a video about this. It is like so obvious once you compare, it's like night and day. But it is something that really, really, again, just hampers my enjoyment because it, even if like graphically you have those moments where it's like the animatronics in 2, when it switches to the fully fleshed out animation, 1, you notice it way more, and 2, they really, really like went in. Like I look at it and it's still like blows my mind, like some of the things like the little like eye facial movements they'll do, or like the way they'll like animate Pete sometimes. Whereas in this game, Pete is just kind of like standing there. Well, that's no way to talk to your friends. Yeah,
I mean, just Pete and Maleficent in general are just such a waste in this game. Just every element of them is a waste in Kingdom Hearts 3. But
yeah, for sure.
When you put it like that, it's definitely hard to argue with the little details that are in Kingdom Hearts 2 versus Kingdom Hearts 3. And again, I agree with you that I guess I disagree that the animations themselves are worse in Kingdom Hearts 3. But I will say, I think because they just don't do it enough in Kingdom Hearts 3. I think it's more like the quantity of it is lesser rather than the quality in Kingdom Hearts 3. Because when it actually does an animation, like a unique one in these cutscenes for these characters, it is very beautifully animated. Even if it doesn't rely on raw graphical detail. Whereas in Kingdom Hearts 2, because the budget is so much lower and because they have a much smoother development process, they're allowed to go and like really work on these like really, small little moments here and there. And that is great in Kingdom Hearts 2. And I definitely agree that Kingdom Hearts 2 has, much more personality compared to Kingdom Hearts 3 when it comes to the cutscenes, when it comes to the character interaction. I don't necessarily agree that Kingdom Hearts 3's the quality of the animations in those cutscenes is worse compared to Kingdom Hearts 2.
I definitely think there's way less, you would say.
I would say there's way less, like the quantity, yeah.
Yeah, and that's probably fair. But yeah, I'm trying to think, is there anything else gameplay or just like not story-wise that we want to talk about?
I would
guess,
say
like,
the worlds.
Yeah, let's talk about the world. You go ahead because you're the one who really like played them. So
yeah.
I would like to know like what is your kind of thoughts on them?
I have 2 different rankings of these worlds that I didn't put together like an official ranking, but I would say I have 2 different rankings based on main story and what I remember from the 100% completion that I did a few years ago, which that if you haven't done 100% completion and you think some of the worlds like are great, try doing 100% completion with some of the activities on them and you will grow to like hate some of the elements of those worlds. Like Arendelle, I already hated Arendelle before I did the 100%. But I loathe this world. I would much rather go through Atlantica multiple times than touch just one mission out of Arendelle. I find Arendelle just such a... It feels much more like a contractual obligation than something they actually wanted to do. And I feel like if they were going to do Frozen, they should have just waited for the second one. Because I think the second one has the much more interesting environment. It has the more interesting story. Whereas in Kingdom Hearts 3, with Frozen 1, it just feels like Disney came in and got their like grubby corporate hands on it. Or like, no, you have to have Let It Go. You have to have Let's Build a Snowman. You have to have this world because all the kids know Frozen. They know Let It Go. They know Do You Want to Build a Snowman? They know Anna and Elsa. They know all these characters, so you have to do it. And it's like they just
Yeah, but you
it's
can't
just
have Elsa in your party. No, no,
you
no, no,
can't
no.
no, you can't have Elsa in your party. You got to have Marshmallow.
Let's
Yay.
go.
Yeah, yay. And then you have to have, of course, you have to have the entire song of Let It Go on there, and where it's like it's basically like a fucking AMV with fucking Sora, Donald, and Goofy listening to Elsa sing Let It Go in its entirety, and they have to reanimate the scene to make it look exactly like it looks in the movie. It's just I'm just looking at that and I go, wow, all that budget for that moment that adds absolutely nothing could have been spent in an area where that gives the game much more personality. Or how about to improve the pacing, you just remove it entirely? I get the point that Elsa builds a castle. Or you could have just not had this world in the game at all to begin with, because it feels like a massive roadblock you got to climb over. If they had started this game with Arendelle, like if they had swapped places with like, oh, Tangled and Arendelle, oh
Yeah.
my god, that would have just sucked. But it's I definitely think Arendelle is by far the worst world. And then you have the fucking garbage sled mini game, and you have that terrible section where you're sliding down the mountain. You have to avoid the beams from those dragon heartless, and it sucks. Yeah. That whole level just sucks. The only thing about it that I find even remotely redeemable is the fact that it has one of the rare boss fights where you fight a Disney character in it. And that does have its value, and I definitely think that Marshmallow fight is decent. And I think the wolf fight at the end is okay, but just the rest of it is just trash. I'm sorry,
Well,
it's just
real quick
trash.
about that. Real quick about that wolf fight. That wolf fight basically has exactly what I wish the game had leaned into more for its boss fights, because it doesn't have a reaction command, but it has what effectively is a reaction command,
Yes.
which is there's a giant fucking like black hole demon thing coming from the sky, and so you hit a certain amount of enemies to build up your gauge, and then you are able to counter it. So basically, it's, hey, you have to get into the video game, you have to like build up your meter or whatever, and then you are allowed to do a sick ass reaction command where Marshmallow and Sora cast like Blizzard on it, and they like destroy a black hole, and like a demon wolf falls from the sky. It's like, oh wow, why didn't we do this in any other boss fight?
Yeah.
You know, like that was actually like that was basically again what I thought, like, oh yeah, this is kind of this version of like a reaction command.
And
you
there's
know?
actual pressure in that fight, because in order to activate the reaction command, you have to kill enough of the enemies that are on screen.
Well,
like the
time
little like
limit.
there's a time there's an unseen time limit, which I think is really cool. And I wish there were more unique elements like that in the boss fight. I think the only other one that comes even close is probably the bit in the Tangled world where you're fighting the boss at the end. Yeah, when you're climbing up the tower and you have to dodge the gates that it spawns out of the ground. Like stuff like that I think is cool. It's just it just Arendelle by itself, just with those like decent boss fights aside, I think is the worst implementation of Disney in the series. I think it's the most boring environment in the series. I think it has one of the worst mini games in the series. It's just like perfect storm of garbage. It's terrible. Thankfully, I don't think any of the other worlds are anywhere near as bad as Arendelle is. Even the other like ones that I'm more like like the Caribbean, I actually liked significantly less this time around. While I do think as an open world, it's a cute idea to make it basically like a mini Black Flag. I don't think there's enough side activity in that world to really make exploration feel all that worth it. And it also
the main
because
story is awful.
Oh god, yeah. And I think upgrading the ship is really easy if you just go to that one the confinement island area where you just spam a bunch of crabs, and then that's how you don't you don't level up your ship by fighting other enemies. You level it up by getting crabs. Yeah. I didn't realize like how dumb that was until maybe like the second or third time that I played it. And then like you mentioned, the story is just terrible. I mean, even at World's End, the movie itself has a terrible story, but when you're combining, you're trying to do this like I really can't fathom, other than the fact that it's the ending of the original trilogy. I can't fathom why they didn't just go ahead and make a custom version of Dead Man's Chest where it doesn't end on a cliffhanger. I don't know why they couldn't have just done that.
Well,
And
and
it
not even
just
just like the story, but just like it gives you like some of the shittiest bosses in the whole game, like fighting that stupid dragon where you just hold on to and go protect, hit, 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 protect, hit, and then you fall
oh,
off and you go,
it's
"Yeah, I gotta
awful.
fucking climb back on."
And the fact that that's the opening boss of the world is
Uh,
it's like, oh my god. And then
and then
the Kraken fight
yeah,
really is not much better. And then
no.
the Davy Jones fight is disappointing.
Yeah, because you're finally fighting a Disney character, and then they're like, "Ah, fuck it." Now you're. I mean, well, this is the problem, right? Because there's no reaction commands, and because you are just a god, he just stands no chance. You're just railing on him. He can't do
Yeah.
anything. I don't recall him having any attacks other than that he summons the Kraken, and I go, "Oh,
Oh
okay. Now I have
god.
to fight. Now I have to fight 7 arms. I wonder how I beat this. Do I click triangle, 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 or triangle? And then I click all of them, and they're all dead. And then I murder Davy Jones. Great.
That could have been a really great moment to repeat what they did with the Hydra in Kingdom Hearts 2.
Yeah, there's like
That
phases.
yeah, and then you get enough hits on the Kraken to do a reaction command where you cut off its legs after a certain point, and then
Yeah.
you go back to fighting Davy Jones, but it just feels so fucking awkward, and then you're just the movement doesn't feel right on that tiny little ship, and you have to go to another elevated platform to get Davy Jones, and then if you over jump, you miss him, and then you could get caught on the fucking Kraken. It's a shit boss, and
Well, and
then
again, because the camera's
just
like pulled out a million years, you can't even see him half the
yeah.
time.
And
Like, so
then yeah,
it doesn't
and
even feel
then
like I'm playing.
it tries to, especially if I think with Kingdom Hearts 3, it gets away mostly with doing a good job of introducing these worlds even if you've never seen the movie. Like I've seen
Yeah,
all the movies that are in these worlds. I've seen At World's End. And even I was like, what the fuck is going on? I don't remember any of this garbage. And then you have just like shit changes in the blink of an eye and that, and then you have Cutler Beckett, which I don't know why he's even there. I know he's a character, he's a big character in At World's End and Dead Man's Chest. You could have got that guy entirely out and it wouldn't have made a fucking difference. Just have Davy Jones be the final boss. Don't and it also ends on such an unsatisfying note because the ending of At World's End is so shit, with Will dying and becoming the captain of the Flying Dutchman, and then they do this bullshit like, oh well, Elizabeth now has to wait 10 years before seeing Will again. It's like who thought this was a good idea, and who thought it was a good idea to make that the ending of the Kingdom Hearts 3's inclusion of that story? Why didn't you just change it? You changed some other shit in these other movies. Like just do that. Give it a better ending compared to this, where it's like Elizabeth's leaving and it's like Sora barely knows what the fuck is going on, and yet he's just standing there and he's like, "Wow, I really learned about the power of friendship in my heart." It's like, nah, dude, this does not this. It doesn't
yeah,
work with this. So I would say the Caribbean is the second worst world in this game. And I know that's an unpopular, I think that's probably like one of my hotter takes with Kingdom Hearts, because that seems to be the world that everybody really likes. That seems to be one of the big highlights just because it's an open world, it's like a mini sandbox. But again, there's really not much to do in it. So what do you end up with? Ironically, you end up with the Ubisoft game, where it's just lots of raw square mileage, but not fucking much to do in it that's of
yeah.
interest. And that
Well, and
sucks.
that's kind of same with San Francisco, where it's just
Yeah,
so big.
it's needlessly big. But I will say San Francisco at least has the story to make up for it. And unlike at World's End in the Caribbean, they made a very wise choice to just come up with their own original story. Just basically make it a sequel to Big Hero 6. You don't have to go through
Yeah,
the origin again. You could have the team together and Sora working with Big Hero 6. That's one of the, I would say honestly, out of the original trilogy of Kingdom Hearts games, that's probably one of my favorite interactions with a Disney world, I would say, with Big Hero 6.
yeah, where they like literally like make the team stronger,
Yeah,
and you're like teaming up and stuff, and
yeah.
they're like hanging out in the garage and like coming up with ideas, and it's really cool.
Yeah, I think it's a wonderful implementation of Disney. And then I would say the other, like, I think Monsters Inc. was better than I remember, even though I don't think the world itself is really all that extraordinary just from a visual standpoint. I think
Mhm.
their interactions with Mike and Sully and Boo, I think, are cute. Again, it was a wise decision to make it basically a sequel to Monsters Inc. And then
It has a smart use of the villain there, where
yes,
when he's made
Randall. Yep,
yeah, well,
it's great.
yeah, and he's made of fear, obviously, and, like, emotions, so, like, that's a cool idea, you know?
Yeah, and then I would say also just all the rest of the worlds I would say are almost, I'd say maybe Olympus and then Toy Box, the second favorite, and then man, they like really front load this game with the three. I'd say the three best worlds are just right in the beginning. Which
I really like Tangled.
Tangled is amazing. I think
Uh,
that's an easy top 5 world for me.
Tangled might be I mean, it's definitely the best world in Cage 3, I think, and I'll go over why.
Obviously, yes,
But I think it's one of the best worlds in, like, the whole series.
I do too.
Because it does exactly what I've been talking about with the little things. The whole thing is, all right, well, you don't know who the fuck like, the thing I love about 2 is that you know every single character when you return to these worlds, or if they're new, which in the case of 2 is literally only Tron and Pirates of the Caribbean, where there's no characters you know, which is crazy. But, like, then you have a second visit, now they're your friends and you can do stuff, which is really cool. So in 3, obviously they wanted new worlds. I'm not gonna hold it against them that they didn't do old worlds, obviously. But now these are new people, and one of the big problems you have with the worst worlds is even in Pirates, where Jack is literally not in there for 90% of the game because he's made of fucking crabs.
Yeah,
But like most of these worlds, like you're just kind of watching the movie, or sort of on Goofy, you're like, "Hey, Elsa, want to chat?" And she's like, "No, fuck you," and then you don't do anything.
yeah.
So by the end, you don't really feel like you're friends. What they did so well with Tangled, and I was like, when I played this, I was like, "Oh my gosh, Cage 3 is gonna be incredible," because what they do is you have to take Rapunzel to like where the movie. You're just doing the movie, but it's doing the movie in the best way possible. Where one, Sora has a personal reason to want to help Elsa, or not Elsa, Rapunzel, because he understands what it's like to want to venture out and explore the world, and so he like relates to her. And then, so what do? Right? Well, if this were like every other world, you would just go through the little combat encounters. They would probably get rid of Rapunzel and Flynn as soon as possible because they want Sora and Goofy to be away from the movie. And then you would fight the boss, and then the movie would end the way it ends. But no, instead, on your way to taking Elsa, not only is she useful in combat, and there are unique things you can do with her hair that like interact with the environment, like using the trees, which is really cool. But along the way, Elsa, I keep saying Rapunzel will be like, "Hey, let's go play in the pond," and then you can literally like splash Rapunzel with water and like take pictures and do stuff. Or hey, there's these flowers on the ground. You go, what can I do with this? Wait a sec. Would this work? And then you do arrow, and then it shoots all the flowers into the air. And she's like, "Oh my gosh, this is beautiful." Or she's like, "Hey, I see these little rabbits. Let's go see these little rabbits." So you go to the rabbits, and
Yes.
you get a chest. And then at the very end, you can there's like these little birds, and she wants to see the birds. Well, fuck yeah, I love Rapunzel, so I'm gonna bring her the birds. You bring her the birds, and then if you do all that stuff, you also get a reward for it. So the game, through gameplay, is making you fall in love with Rapunzel and being happy for her, seeing the world. To like, I was like, there, I'm sold. Like you did it. And like there's so many unique environments and areas, and like you have the canyon, and then you have like the flower petal field, and then you have like the swamp, and then you have the town, and then you have the tower, and like just so many like creative and like fun environments. And then to where by the end, whenever it's like, shit, we got to get to Rapunzel and like finish the movie, it doesn't feel like I'm just doing the movie anymore. It feels like, no, Rapunzel's my friend. We hung out, so let's go save her, and it's great. So
I would say
um
Tangled 2 is the rare the Kingdom of Corona is the rare Disney World I think to actually dramatically improve on the movie because it cuts like if you had never seen Tangled before, I think they did a great enough job delivering the story without any of the songs. And that's one of the things that I dislike the most about Tangled, which truth be told, I don't really like the movie Tangled itself, which is strange because I really like Frozen, but I hate that world. And I think the difference is they knew, unlike Arendelle, they knew what to cut and what to add in service of the story and in service of developing the relationship between Sora and these characters. I feel like because there's just so much needless bullshit in Arendelle, I think what Sora spends one scene of any real consequence with Anna, and it's her singing or doing her exposition while the song is just awkwardly clashing with the. I don't know who thought this was a good idea, where they have the song playing at the exact same time the exposition is happening.
Yeah, and then you could say,
Mm.
"Oh, I'm bonding by fixing Olaf," and it's like, "No, I'm
No, I
one
hate him.
murder."
I
Well,
hate I hate him and his stupid face. And then you have Kingdom of Corona, where because the gameplay is not intrusive, it's not annoying helping Rapunzel because Rapunzel is such an endearing character, and they actually spend the time. Imagine that real character development, real time, real good relationship building between a Disney character. Wow, what a novel concept for a world in a game, in a series that revolves entirely around that. And
and it's all
um,
optional. You don't even
it's
have to do it.
yes, that too. It's you could miss. You don't have to do everything. You like when I did the playthrough this time around, I completely forgot about the rabbits and I like skipped it entirely. When you actually get into like the meat and potatoes of the boss fights, it has some of the best boss fights in the game, in my opinion, with the horse carriage and
Yeah.
the tower Heartless, which I think is a good fight.
Well, like, they feel fun, which
They
is, like,
feel
a weird
fun,
thing to say.
yes.
It's a weird thing to say in a game that's full of, like, "Oh, fun, fun, fun," but it actually felt, like, creative where it's, like, it's the tower and it's the monkey, and it's like, "Ah, that fucking monkey," and you
Yeah.
have to, like, and then it turns into the horse, you know? It's like,
Yep.
"Oh, wow, like, this is really cool," you
Yeah.
know?
And then I think it has the some of the best music in the game. I think
Oh, yes. The
the
battle
which
theme
yeah,
especially.
oh yeah. The world themes and the battle themes in Corona are, I think, are easily the best of the Disney worlds in KH3. In Kingdom Hearts 3, I don't find this obnoxious in Kingdom Hearts 2. I know you're not crazy about it when they like recreate whole cloth sequences from Kingdom Hearts 2, like
Yeah.
your example in the video is like the Scar and Simba fight in Kingdom Hearts 2. And I don't mind those, but in Kingdom Hearts 3 for some reason I find it more obnoxious here because it feels more shoehorned in. But I think Entangled, it's one of the rare times where
Yeah.
it actually works, having them recreate the sequence where, Mother Gothel is holding Flynn hostage and they do the thing where Flynn cuts Rapunzel's hair. And that's like directly taken from the movie, with the exception of, Sora, Donald, and Goofy standing in the window going, oh, this is sad. And then it's but I don't mind it because I feel like it's additive rather than distracting
Or, like,
like it
earned it.
is. And yeah, it's earned. It's not crowbarred in there like again like fucking Arendelle or the Caribbean. And I just Kingdom of Corona is I think is it's wonderful. I think it's a wonderful world. I'd say like a easy top 5 world of the series for me. Toy Box I think is really good, even though I have some issues with some of the pacing in it. Hercules is fun, even though I think it's too short in my opinion. I actually think it's too short. I was really surprised the first time I played Kingdom Hearts 3. I was like, oh, it's over already? Oh shit. Like, okay.
Well, actually, what I think is, really cool about that world is that I'm someone who I would have much preferred if every one of these worlds, besides like Kingdom of Corona and Olympus, were like cut in half lengthwise,
Yes.
and or were made into more worlds. Because I legitimately think that one of the greatest things about Kingdom Hearts as a franchise is that because they're always based on these Disney movies, they have some of the most pleasant aesthetics of a video game because it is so varied every time you play a game.
Yeah.
Like especially like two. And like Dream Drop has a really good variety. Like just visually, I love the variety of these games. And because the worlds are usually short, and especially two, because you have two visits, you never have time to get sick of them. Whereas I feel like almost every world in three, besides like Kingdom of Corona, which I think is like one of the shorter worlds, and Olympus, which is very short. I feel like by the end, I feel like I'm like, all right, I think I'm ready to go. And I feel like it would have just been so much better if they had just like cut a lot of these worlds in half. And that's why I really like the Olympus world, because it really felt like, oh wow, that felt like the length of like kind of like a little bit of a longer KH2 world. To blow your mind real fast, I have a cutscene list up here, and the shortest besides Olympus, which is obviously short,
Mhm.
um, the longest of KH2's like Disney World cutscenes, just the Disney Worlds, is 39 minutes for Halloween Town. Now, remind you, that is combining both visits, so 39 minutes of cutscenes. Cool, cool, cool. All right. So besides Olympus, which is 28 minutes, which is longer than some of these worlds in KH2 combined, there's only 25 minutes of cutscenes for both visits. So that's already pretty long. But Every other world is above that. So Toy Story, 41 minutes of cutscenes.
Mhm.
Kingdom of Corona, 45 minutes. Frozen. Frozen's at one of the exceptions. It's 38 minutes, which is still longer than most KH2.
That's 38 minutes too long.
Monstropolis, 40. Big Hero 6, 44. And the Pirates of the Caribbean one is 57 minutes. So think about that.
Yeah, I
These
can
are
see that.
single visit worlds,
Mhm.
and they are longer, almost all of them, than the 2 visits worth of Kingdom Hearts 2 worlds, which are separated by like hours and hours of gameplay.
Mhm.
And you can start to see why they might feel like they're overstaying their welcome just a tiny bit.
Because we've talked about this, where it's kind of a double-edged sword for me. We're having these like longer worlds. Is that when you actually get a good one, the length of it is fine. Like I don't have a problem with something like I even though I do think that some of them are like a tad too long. I think Big Hero 6 is a tad too long. I think Monsters Inc. is a tad too long. I don't mind the length of Toy Story, or I don't mind the length of Kingdom of Corona, obviously. But when you get a stinker like Pirates or Arendelle, it's like, guys, wrap this shit up. Like, let's get this going, guys. Like, this does not need to be this long. You're not making the actual movie, okay? You're a video game. Like, let's get this shit going. I don't think it's a hot take saying like Kingdom of Corona is the best world in the game, and Arendelle is by far the worst world in the game, easily. I would say I don't think that's a hot take at all.
No, but the nuances were fun to explore.
Yeah.
And then I guess
Yeah.
finally, oh yeah, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I just wanted to briefly touch on the music as well.
Yes, me
And
too. Yep, go ahead.
I say briefly, but then we're gonna talk about it for very long. 'Cause there's a lot to say about the music in this game in particular, and
Yeah.
I think the music in this game is very I would describe it as peaks and valleys, where
Mixed bag.
it's a mixed bag. I would say this game has some of the very best compositions in Yoko Shimomura's entire career. Just stuff that it blows my mind that she is still able to come up with some of these compositions, and they all sound so just like inspired and memorable and catchy and emotional and just, my god, what an amazing artist Yoko Shimomura is. And then unfortunately you get to the other bits of the score, and even some of her original ones I was very surprised that she did them, like the Olympus boss fight for Olympus, which I think is so bland, and I was just
Very
really
generic.
it's very generic. I was really disappointed when I heard it, because the music in Olympus is usually so great, just like the Olympus Coliseum theme.
So good too.
Yeah, even the main theme of Mount Olympus, I really like that dun 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 dun.
And then like when it really like gets to the top, it's like da 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 da.
Yeah.
Like,
It's awesome. And then you get to the final boss music for Olympus, and it's just and it's like, who the fuck made this? And then I realized it was Yoko Shimomura, and I'm like, are you serious? And I went, that was an off day for her, definitely. And this is one of my concerns I have for the future of the series, is that, look, Yoko Shimomura, she's getting up there. She's gonna be like 60 in a few years. And I'm not saying she can't or she's losing it, or she can't continue to make music, but they're starting to lean more into, and I don't think Ishimoto and Sekido are bad composers. I don't want to make that I don't want to say that at all. I think Ishimoto in particular, his soundtracks for The World Ends With You, they're great. Like both of them, both soundtracks for The World Ends With You, The World Ends With You are awesome. But he's not, I hate to sound gatekeeping, but you need a specific kind of person with a specific kind of sound to make music for Kingdom Hearts. And it's a double-edged sword when you find a sole composer who gets it as far as the musical identity of a series. And I think thankfully like Final Fantasy has overcome this hurdle, since they don't use Nobuo Uematsu all that much anymore. He'll occasionally come in and do like guest compositions here and there, but he hasn't been a lead composer in a mainline Final Fantasy game in a long time, and I don't think that has suffered the series at all. we'll see with Dragon Quest now that Koichi Sugiyama is dead, even though his original music for 11 is not good. Um, Yoko Shimomura just, she gets it. She
I would say
understands.
she is Kingdom Hearts.
She is Kingdom Hearts. Yes,
I think like obviously like we would
I would
both
agree.
agree that like there's value to the rest of the game, like the gameplay or the animation or the voice acting. But
Yes,
I really do think without her music, every Kingdom Hearts game is significantly worse in like a
yes.
very like a very like impactful way. Not just like, oh, like the characters, I like their theme, so it would
No,
be like the souls of the characters are kind of
they're
tied to the
gone.
music.
Yeah, they would be gone if it wasn't for, because I can't imagine this game without compositions like The Afternoon Streets or The Other Promise or Stranded
Or like Grand
Beyond. Yeah, it's, you can name like, there are like tens, like probably like over 100 different like amazing compositions that are in this series that are from her. I mean, the soundtrack to Kingdom Hearts 2 I think is the best video game soundtrack of all time, in my opinion. But now they're starting, and they've been doing this ever since Birth by Sleep, where they've brought in, because Shimomura doesn't want to do the soul compositions anymore because she's getting tired, or she wants to do other projects. Now they unfortunately are going to rely more on Ishimoto and Sekiro, and while I do think there are some compositions in this game that are very good from the both of them,
Like San Francisco's like music is really good.
yeah,
Like
I really like Hero's Garage theme. I
yeah, that
really
was
like that composition. I
yeah,
really like the battle theme for the Caribbean. I think that the chanting, like with the kids
yeah.
choir and stuff like that, I think that's great. It's just, then you hear stuff like the the world theme of the Caribbean, and it's just it's like, no.
Well, and the biggest insult and like the biggest like what happened, the final boss
Oh
theme,
yeah,
which not only wasn't done by her, but two is an amalgamation of songs that make no fucking sense
no,
for that song. Because if you guys didn't know, in some stories, the music actually like has thematic relevance by recognize it, or there's
yep,
leitmotif where it's like these characters represent this idea, or this song represents this emotion or this character. That's why it was so special. Obviously, whenever you fight Roxas, and she and it's a combination of his theme and Shion's theme, or you fight all three final bosses and it's all their songs together, or Dearly Beloved will play during like the song when Roxas is leaving Twilight Town in KH2 and Sora's body.
yep,
Like that kind of ties back to like the opening of the game and stuff. So like these music, the music is thought out most of the time. But
yes,
for the final boss, for some fucking reason, one, they didn't have Yoko Shimomura do it, and two, it is nonsensical. It has the Lingering Wills theme for some reason. It has like the General Darkness theme, and then it has like the Xehanort theme.
yep,
And it's like, what is happening? And I think it also just has like a general boss theme like melody in it too.
yeah.
Like it makes no sense.
It's though I'm not really crazy about that final boss theme. I must admit, when it starts with the I always forget how to pronounce it, the Ansem final boss theme, when it does the dun 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 when it starts,
Yeah.
I literally went like, yeah, the first time I played it. I remember distinctly going like, yes, when they start playing that theme
Oh yeah.
for
That's good.
and then the rest of it is just kind of like, okay. Like,
Yeah.
I was really hoping for some like an original composition for that final boss theme, which it's the final boss theme not only of Kingdom Hearts 3 but of the arc, the story arc that's been going on for fucking almost 20 years. And
Yeah.
they didn't have Yoko Shimomura do it. And it's not like Yoko Shimomura is losing her luster or she's washed out. She's contributing shit to this game that is mind-blowingly good.
Like Nachtflugel or whatever it's fucking
Nachtflugel
called.
is just, no, that's what it's called. Nachtflugel is, that is unlike anything I have ever heard for a Kingdom Hearts. That feels like her revenge for not doing the score for
Yeah.
Final Fantasy Versus 13. And
Yeah,
then
that's what I felt. And I was like, oh wow, she really is still capable
yeah,
of not only making
yeah,
like good songs, but like this feels like a next step in Kingdom Hearts music.
Yes.
Like holy shit, you know?
It feels like mysterious and it's almost like you don't.
Kind of whimsical.
It's
at a certain
whimsical,
point.
yeah. And then you get shit like Stranded Beyond, which is one of the most beautiful compositions in the series. I think it just again, she gets it. She gets it. And I've been I've said vocally on the channel before that she is the soul of this series. Without her, it would not be half of what it is. And I'm not saying, you know, I think Nomura is an extremely talented and creative person. But I'm sorry, he is not worth his weight in gold compared to Shimomura. It's not the same at all. He's the brains, she's the soul. It's just that's the way it is, and I don't mean that to sound like insulting to Nomura or any of the other artists or anyone else involved in Kingdom Hearts. It's just it is what it is that Shimomura is the heart and soul of this franchise. It's just sorry, it is what it is. Until
That's what it is.
you know, until they find someone, and you know what, I'm willing to bet that there is somebody out there who could who could get it, who could get the soul. I just don't think the people they're currently grooming to take over for her get it. I could be wrong. I mean, eventually maybe one of them could transform into like, here are these amazing compositions for Kingdom Hearts 7 or whenever the fuck Shimomura doesn't do the music anymore. I mean, hell, I think some of the new original music from, I assume, different composers in Missing Link, the mobile game that's coming out, I think some of those in that game are great. Like, I love the new Scala at Kylum theme. I would love to know who did that. It sounds like a very Shimomura track, but that could be somebody new for all I know.
Yeah.
But it's just, and then in Kingdom Hearts 3, I think this is what you mentioned, and I completely agree with you, is that like a lot of things in Kingdom Hearts 3, the music does not feel as carefully considered compared to Kingdom Hearts 1 and Kingdom Hearts 2. And I think that is particularly evidenced when they had to release a patch to change the music that occurs when Kairi gets killed. Because they had, initially when it first came out, they played Missing You, which was weird, but okay. And then they changed it to something else in a patch. And I'm like, this is maybe the first time I have ever seen a piece of music be swapped out for something else through a patch. There could be like other examples, especially in a key, no pun intended, a key cutscene in the game where it's the death of Kairi. And they went, whoops, sorry, we put the wrong track in there. Here you go. And it's something totally different. And it just changes the ambiance of the scene entirely.
Or why did they play the Olympus training theme
in Big Hero 6? Yeah.
Yeah.
that I was like, this is so, and I get that it's, you know, the training. Yeah, and I get that they maybe thought like, well, it's a training theme, but that's what you have original compositions for. Yeah. You have a training theme in Big Hero 6. Why didn't you just make another original training theme for Big Hero 6?
Yeah, because there's no way anyone's gonna hear that and go like, oh, this is like an original track. No, it's like iconic to Olympus.
Yes.
In 2 games. It's in 3 games.
Yeah, I remember I noticed that the first time I played it, and I was like, why is Olympus here? That doesn't make any sense. It's so weird. And what I would argue is the biggest, besides the final boss theme, the biggest musical crime in this game is using one of Shimomura's very best new bits of music in this game, the Scala at Kylum theme, for 5 seconds. 5 seconds when you're, and again, you don't even get really much of a chance to explore Scala at Kylum, the final world of the game, and it's like, whoop, sorry, but gotta interrupt that little bit of music with this generic sounding boss theme where you're fighting Xehanort's clones, and it's like, It's like, are you serious? You really seriously? You have this new amazing score in the form of Edge of Existence. This amazing theme that, again, sounds unlike anything else I've ever heard in Kingdom Hearts. Nope, 5 seconds. Sorry. 5 seconds. Yeah. That's all you get with it. And I wouldn't even have known that song, it's the banger that it is, if I didn't listen to it later on YouTube in a much longer format. Yeah. Especially when they have the meme video of Have you ever seen the video where it's like the sports event and you have the mascot and it's like dancing to Sacred Moon, the world that never was theme, and then you have the security guard like pushing the mascot aside and he starts breakdancing to Edge of Existence.
Oh, I mean, I've seen that type of meme.
Yeah, they have a video of it, and it's like that was the first time I saw heard of it fully, and I was like, where the hell was this? Like, this sounds great. And then I realized that was the 5-second bit of music they had in vanilla Kingdom Hearts 3, and I was like, are you shitting me, guys? You really did not know what you had until Remind, which in Remind they fixed that mistake by letting you explore Skylat Kylum to your heart's content while listening to Edge of Existence, which is great. I love that in Remind, but it's not in Kingdom Hearts 3, the game that it should have been in. There's just so many weird little musical mistakes like that just throughout the game that just
Yeah. Well, and to end on a positive note for the music, unless you have another thing to
talk
about.
No, go ahead.
So I have two things. One, this game's version of Dearly Beloved is 10 out of 10. Probably one of my favorite gaming moments ever was booting up Kingdom Hearts 3 for the first time.
Yep.
And listening to that opening screen on the beach. Perfect. And the part where the trumpet comes in, it just goes dun 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 dun, and it's like, oh my gosh, and then it swells and just all these things. Like it is there are things when you're waiting for a game this long that you think of like the box art, you think of which is very beautiful too. The box art looks gorgeous. But you're thinking of all these things, and obviously you think of hype moments or whatever. And there are certain things that obviously when you get there, you either know obviously that was dumb to think of, or it didn't live up to the expectation.
Mm-hmm.
So we waited for this game for forever, not even just when it was announced. And obviously the big thing was always going to be, what would Dearly Beloved sound like? And it is surreal to me that hearing that and still listening to this day, it hasn't worn off. It is exactly as good as little kid Ian could have hoped for, and even better. It is as magical and as perfect as I would have wanted it to be, and I am very thankful that exists.
I heard some great fan creations of a hypothetical Kingdom Hearts 3 version of Dearly Beloved. I've heard many before the actual KH3 Dearly Beloved was revealed. I heard so many good ones, and I was like, wow, Shimomura would be wise to steal from this guy, or it just sounds really beautiful. And then she comes in and goes no, this is how we're gonna do it, and it's better. It's so much better than any of the fan recreations I had heard over the years leading up to Kingdom Hearts 3, because it's Yoko motherfucking Shimomura, and that's how fucking good she is, and that is why she's essential to this series.
Yeah, it was a truly beautiful moment that I got to experience. I just sat there. I was like, oh my gosh, it's real.
Yeah. That's the music up high and low, but I think the highs in Kingdom Hearts 3 are just, my goodness. Wow.
Well, and I wanted to, the final thing I wanted to say is that I think this is a positive and a negative, but the negative side is that I think Kingdom Hearts 3 soundtrack is a best of soundtrack, because if you noticed, a lot of the music in the game is not original.
Yeah.
It is a remix. However, now that's the negative side, but on the positive side, a lot of these remixes are just fucking cool.
Yeah.
Or they're really great. So I think what it's kind of the main problem with 3 is that it doesn't feel like it actually has an identity. I don't listen to KH3 soundtrack and go, oh yeah, that's KH3, because 1 and 2 have very distinct soundtracks.
Mm-hmm.
3 feels like a best of track where it's oh, look at all these fucking cool remixes of your favorite songs with a few extras thrown in of original songs, and that is cool, and I like that, but obviously it takes away some of the original personality of it for KH3.
Yeah.
However, I'm not going to deny that I still really like these, because for example, I think some of the most cool things are, for example, obviously we don't go back to Pride Lands, but they made a complete full version of the Pride Lands battle theme, and it sounds great.
I think Adventure in Atlantica, I think, is even better in the Link version than the world theme in KH1.
Yeah. So that kind of stuff is great. Or for example, you don't go to the underworld, but when Hades introduces the Titans, it plays a remix of that song, and so that's in the game. So that stuff is cool, and I really like that.
Yeah, Bounce-O-Rama is amazing in this version. The dark version of the Aqua theme that plays during her boss fight I think that's one of the best and not only remixes, I think that's one of the best tracks in the game with that like really sad like the operatic singing that's a tie to it. It's
Oh yeah, yeah.
amazing track. Gave me goosebumps the first time I heard it.
Well, and then like I think it's called like Squirming Evil. It's the one used in Cage 2 mostly for like the nobodies or like the Twilight Thorn in Twilight Town. Like
Oh
the
yeah.
when they I love like kind of like the horror vibe they give it in this
Mhm.
game, where it's kind of like in the background, like like you can kind of hear it from this side and this side, and it just kind of fucking comes at you. And like when they play it in the game is in the moment when you're trying to get back to Rapunzel, and like it's dark and like these nobodies are blocking the
Yeah.
path. So like it really like it like makes you go like go 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 go, you know. So I really like that, and then obviously like they're like Cage 2 has some songs in it that don't return from Cage 1, and one of them that I always loved was it's the Heartless theme, like da na 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 na. It's like
Yeah.
a storming dark cloud or whatever, and
Yes.
that's in this game.
Yep.
But it's not only just like a remix; it's like a robot remix, you know?
Yeah, I remember when I saw early gameplay of it on YouTube before it came out, and I saw that cutscene where they play the Shrouding Dark Cloud. Sorry, yeah,
Yeah,
Shrouding Dark Cloud. When they play that, and when he's like jumping into the Titan, and I'm like, oh, that's perfect. That
yeah,
sounds so cool. And then the two shout outs, but the final thing I'll say about the music, the two shout outs with the remixes is obviously like Rise of the Union, which plays when
yes,
Sora activates the ultimate reaction command of harnessing the power of the Kingdom Hearts community, which I think that is I don't think that scene would have hit me as hard without that song playing. That remix is incredible. And
yeah,
then the obvious one for me that I love is Hearts is One, which plays when you fight Shion, or no, when you fight Sayax alongside Shion and
an
Roxas, which
actual,
is
yeah,
just wow, wow. I did not. I was I was not prepared for how good that track would be in the
and that
game.
and that's not even including all the Remind remixes.
No,
Like
yeah, Lord of
you
the
get a new Hall
Castle is
section.
the Lord of the Castle theme and Remind. Oh my
Oh,
god,
oh, it's so
so
good.
good.
Yeah. And then there's like 3 different remixes of the 13th Struggler or like the 13th
Yes.
or whatever. And they like all fit the different characters.
Yep.
I love the heavy metal rock one for Syax.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But
So yeah,
and
good
again,
stuff.
it's the through line through all of that, even the remixes. It's Yoko Shimomura. Use her more, damn it. So
Absolutely. But yeah, that's
yeah,
all I had to say about the music. I think is it time after like 2 hours is it time to talk about the story?
yes, it is.
All right. The last thing you said was we were going to bitch about Kyrie. So I think we can do that now.
Yeah, which oh my god, I can't even excuse this with the development was very rocky for Kingdom Hearts 3. I can't even excuse it with that. I really just want to know what were the writers injecting between their toes to make them write Kyrie like this and to have her story end like this after hyping up her more direct involvement for years, and that this was supposed to be the time where Kyrie would shine as a Keyblade wielder. But what happens when Kyrie is given not only training, but she is literally training in a place that they have made a specific point to say time does not matter in this place. They make
Yeah.
a point of mentioning that multiple times. Time does not matter. Take all the time you need. And it does not matter. And yet, even after possibly months of training in the span of like a week, she sucks. She absolutely sucks
Her
against
and Axel.
Shion. Yeah, her and Axel are pathetic. And they get their asses handed to them. And then Kyrie gets just.
She gets dog napped because she's just our pet at this point.
Yeah, all Zemnis does is just grab her wrist, and that apparently is like a pressure point for her to where it just shuts down
Hell or never.
shuts down her mobility entirely, and she's just this dangling wet noodle that Zemnis is hanging onto, and she's like, "Oh, Sora," and she doesn't, and she even tries to go like, where she struggles a little bit, and all Zemnis does is just go like, and it's
Weird.
it's terrible. It's I don't even think terrible describes it. It is
genuinely insulting.
It is
I would say.
shockingly insulting. Yes, it is shockingly misguided what they did. This is I. Please talk. I can't with this.
Well, I would say so. Here's the thing, right? So Kairi in KH1 and 2, she has over time gotten less and less, and it's not even like she had a lot in KH1. But in KH1, what she did have was one that she had a lot of charm. You know,
yes,
like her stupid, you know, like she is like goofy and kind of fun in KH1, and the whole idea with her was that she was with Sora the whole time, and so like in that sense, she was kind of like protecting him and guiding him,
yes,
and like kind of like was ultimately like undermining the villain's plans because they can't get to Kairi. And so like you have all that, and again, I think the voice actress does a really good job making it just very cute.
yep,
But you know, by the end, she kind of like phases out whenever Sora literally tells her like, well, you know, what are you gonna fucking do to help? And she's like, yeah, you're right. But then she gives, you know, the little charm. So you have all that going, and then, you know, she's kind of out of the story.
mm-hmm.
But regardless, Sora's able to save her. They get their nice little goodbye, and you do care that like they are going to be separated. And again, you can care about Kairi because she has like little moments of heart and personality that are likable. All right. Then in KH2, they diminish her even more, where she's here at the start, and then she gets kidnapped, and then she's here at the end. And in the end, they even have a mini version of this where she's like, "I'm going to fucking help you fight Xemnas." She goes in, and whoopsie poopsies, the door shut, and you're out, which sucked. But the reason Kairi ends so strong in KH2, and why I will always still really like her in that game, is that she has one through line that is so perfect and beautiful, and it literally ends the fucking game, that it like she is just like she is that heart. She is fulfilling that same role that she did in KH1 of being that drive for Sora, but also being the thing that kind of attaches him to this world, and is kind of what KH3 ends up doing. But what they do this with is, while she cannot remember Sora, she so badly wants to that she writes a letter to, again, she does not even know this is Sora. She writes a letter to Sora being like, I will never forget you. I'm going to find you. I'm going to bring you home, all these different things. And then she tosses the ball out into the water. And that's only when she remembers who it is. So again, she wrote this without knowing who Sora was. Play the whole fucking game. They're trying to get back, and like they're trying to reunite and stuff. And then finally, when Sora and Riku are like, they're all pretty much content. Like, even if obviously this is going to suck, they're pretty much content. Like, you know what? We saved the world. Everyone we love is safe. The world of light is safe. You know, all the bad guys are defeated. You know, maybe we can just hang out here on our shitty little, you know, black darkness island, and you know, we'll just have to be here for each other and just see what happens.
Mm.
But Kairi won't allow it. She decided that at the start of the fucking game, and so the message, the invisible ties that KH2 is all about, that the Kingdom Hearts is all about, the message in the bottle somehow passes through time and fucking space so that it can get to the realm of darkness and open the door to light, because it re-sparks Sora's love for Kairi and like his desire to go home, which, as they say, opens the door to light, which is what Sora was supposed to open from the beginning. So it literally opens his heart, opens the door to light, and they are able to go home. All because Kairi took this step of reaching out to a boy she doesn't even remember. And there you go. It's beautiful. It's perfect. That is a genuinely great use of her character. And it's the end of the game. So therefore, that's like what you leave on, right? And it's like you get the, you know, you're back, you're home. She literally gets the final line of the whole game. Like, to think about that, you know, besides like the after credit scene, you know, we're back, you're home, boom, and she gets the thing.
Perfect.
So there is still that connective tissue and that really, really emotional moment. KH3 doesn't have that, to the point that fucking Nomura forgot how the Paopu works. The Paopu fruit is not that you both have a Paopu fruit and you go, cheers. No, the point of the Paopu fruit is because it's based on romance, is that you both fucking eat it. You digest it together. That's the point. That's why it's romantic. You are sharing food. And it's like a cute little fruit or whatever. So couldn't even get that right. Two, this is after like Sora has been away from Kairi for 2 games, and he's never like calling her up on the gummy phone to be like, hey, Kairi, how you fucking doing or whatever.
Oh, I know.
He's not spending any time with her. Riku, I don't think, says a fucking word to Kairi in the entire game. And so you have all this going on, and all KH3 does to invest you into Sora and Kairi, or to Riku Sora and Kairi, is that you remember how much you liked them from the previous games. It does zero until Remind to reinforce why you should care about these two. And this is like the final point. This one's more petty, but I do just think the voice acting for Kairi is a lot worse. I don't like the new
Yeah.
voice actor. Don't worry, Sora, you're safe with me now. Okay, get away from me, freaky doll lady. So yeah, so Kairi is just shit on in this entire game. She's given no heart, no spark, no
No.
fucking soul. She's terrible. And
Yeah.
the game has the gall to go, because this wasn't even a big deal in KH1 and 2 of like her being a fighter, but it was neat whenever they did hint at this. It's like, oh shit. So KH1, it ends with Sora and Goofy. KH2 ends with Sora and Riku teaming up. So obviously the natural step is that the Destiny Island trio are going to team up to fight at the end of 3, or like somewhere at some point.
Yep.
But no, fuck you.
No.
Kairi sucks. She gets killed. The end. Hey, you know how every other character in Kingdom Hearts is just good at fighting? Why is it that literally only Kairi is the one where it's like, well, it just wouldn't make sense if she was just good at fighting. You know, she has to train, and okay, yeah, she had one game to train, but you know, training takes time, and sword fighting's really tough, especially in an anime game where everyone's just good at sword fighting. Like, I don't know, it's just let's not push the girl out there too much. Like, guys.
For a game that relies on delivering a lot of fan service moments, and I think some of them are well earned. Like obviously, like Roxas, Shion, and Axel reuniting. Even though I think that kind of ruins some of the tragic element. Yeah, the tragic element of Kingdom Hearts 2 that I really like so much. Even though Shion's not in Kingdom Hearts 2, but
yeah, we'll talk about
it's all. I really just can't believe it how much they dropped the ball on the interactions between Sora, Riku, and Kairi in this game. And it's
wouldn't even know they're friends.
No, you wouldn't. It's like they're completely different. It's like the dynamics completely changed after Kingdom Hearts 2. And even though Kingdom Hearts 2 does scaled back on Kairi's, charm and more like outgoing personality, like outwardly, sarcastic and stuff like that. I think it works in Kingdom Hearts 2, one, because Kingdom Hearts 2 is much darker in a sense compared to Kingdom Hearts 1. And there's also the context of her being on this journey throughout Kingdom Hearts 1, and it has changed her through not only through the experiences from Kingdom Hearts 1, but also after a certain point forgetting Sora and kind of settling into this new life and not having Riku around. And so she could change in that time that she spends on Destiny Island with Selphie and stuff like that. But then in Kingdom Hearts 3, that shouldn't be a problem, because now that she remembers who Sora is, she knows who Riku is, she never forgot who Riku was, they're back together, the three of them could interact more in theory, and it just naturally feels like this is where it's going to lead up to for the original trio. But it's like, I just don't get it. This is where I have a hard time articulating it, simply because the lack of understanding just blows my mind. That it's like, did you forget who you're writing for? Did you forget the history of what happened in the past games? It's almost like a completely different writer came in and wrote the dynamic between Sora, Riku, and Kairi in this game.
Well, to be fair, KH1 and 2, it was not always Nomura. KH1 has the most writers, and the reason KH1 has a more cinematic flair to its cutscenes is because one of those writers was a manga author, I believe.
Oh, okay.
That makes sense. 5 writers, and Nomura was usually the idea guy, and then there were like everyone else basically did like the moment to moment, and then like I think like they even have like a guy who does like the Disney worlds, because the Disney worlds in KH1 especially have kind of like some of them are like way less like story driven than others, and like they also feel a lot different from like the big story moments. Like some of them do feel like, oh, we're just doing like Tarzan or whatever, and so they had a bigger team. KH2 had 3 writers, I believe. You had Nomura, who had a lot of the ideas, literally to the point that, you know how at the end of Kingdom Hearts 1, there's that final mix scene with all the words where it's like, where's the king, and all these things or whatever. Nomura literally just threw all that shit in, and then he told the writer, he said, figure out where to put that in the game.
Yeah.
So to be clear, there is another writer on KH2. There was one who did the Disney worlds, and then I believe there was one who worked with Nomura to write all the other shit. But then you get to Birth by Sleep, and Nomura has basically confirmed, while there is a secondary writer, he has basically been ghostwriting the whole series from this point on.
Yeah.
Besides 358, which is significantly better because it's written by the manga author who's done all the Kingdom Hearts manga, which is why it has a different feel, and like the character interactions are way better. Nomura has basically been ghostwriting the series since Birth by Sleep, and you can fucking tell because Birth by Sleep literally starts with, well, shit, how do you make characters likable? Let's just redo the opening cutscene of KH1, but it's Ventus, Terra, and Aqua. That'll make people like them. Yeah, what the fuck ever. And then they go on an adventure. So I think it makes perfect sense. There's also literally an interview where Nomura just flat out said that he relates more to Master Xehanort than Sora.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
So I think he has just forgotten like what these characters were, and I just think he was never that really invested in them to begin with. Not that he wasn't invested, but I just think over time he's like, shit, I really wanted to just make Versus 13, and now they fucking took me off that, and now I got to make Kingdom Hearts 3. Well, okay, what do people want to see? And then he just did that.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we also literally know for a fact that Roxas was supposed to stay in Sora, Shone was supposed to stay dead, and he changed that because fans wanted them. And so he's like, oh, well, I'll do that then.
Yeah, it is a shame because it almost makes me wish Kingdom Hearts 3 was I wonder what finally was the catalyst to finally get Kingdom Hearts 3 out the door, because I'd really would love to know the behind the scenes shit that happened with that game, because I find that so much more interesting actually than the story of just like the mystery of what the hell happened and how the hell did Nomura
watch that he was like, well, I gotta do this now.
and then he was also working on Remake at the same time, and it's very obvious which game
clearly more passionate in that game.
It really is. It's really obvious which game got more of the. I'm not saying Kingdom Hearts 3 is devoid of love and care. There are elements of it that definitely are great, but it's obvious that as a whole, Final Fantasy VII Remake is the thing that probably got Nomura's attention, and I'm willing to bet that Square Enix put more pressure on that game being the success than Kingdom Hearts 3, because of how I would say Final Fantasy VII is maybe Square Enix's most important game. I would probably argue that, or Square. Just forget Enix. Square. Final Fantasy VII is the most important game in their catalog, and they could not fuck that remake up. They could probably take a black eye with if Kingdom Hearts 3 turned out to be disappointing. But Final Fantasy VII Remake? No. That's not the one you want to fuck with.
Oh, yeah.
Even though they do.
Kingdom Hearts 3, all it had to do was just give the people what they want. So reunite these characters. Reunite these characters,
exactly.
Kill these characters. That's it. That's all it really had to do.
Yeah.
And that's what it feels like when, you know how in KH1 and 2 we have these really creative and like amazing looking final worlds, and KH3 is a desert.
Well, it's a desert, and then it is a really amazing looking world that basically acts as a diorama for you to run around in for like 5 minutes, and it's like, oh my god, like what did you do? Like what poor Scarlet Kylum, that could have been so much more interesting in vanilla KH3.
You look back when it first happened, right? It was fun, which is the Disney characters dunking on all of the organization characters. But then you like think about it for half a second. You go, wait a sec. Is it good that I enjoy the fact that these fuckers who won't stop talking and that I think are super fucking annoying are getting like insulted and made to look like clowns by the Disney characters? Do I like that? And you go, wait a minute. Because in Kingdom Hearts 2, when Belle elbows Zaldin in the chest, it's not then he goes, well, fuck you, and then he leaves. No, instead, tells you a billion times and makes you look like a chump because you're like, holy shit, the organization are no joke. Jeez Louise.
No.
So like in this game, like the organization just feel like fucking losers. And I really hate this idea of like people talk about like, oh, the Disney worlds feel so much interconnected to the story because the organization show up. You know?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, what do they do in the worlds? Well, they go, well, 2 of them are going, well, we might do something with the Disney princesses if you don't do something. And then they make Heartless for you to fight, which isn't helping their goal in any way, like in KH2. Then you have the ones who are like, we're looking for the mobile game stuff. Do you have the mobile game stuff? No. Oh, and they go, oh, well, goodbye.
That fucking box, I swear.
Yeah, and then you have the people who are kind of neat, like Vanitas, where they're actually using the idea of the Disney World to bring him back. I like that idea, but then he gets made into a fucking clown by Mike and Sully, and you go, oh well,
Oh yeah,
thanks for going up.
he just gets roared at, and then he's done.
Yeah,
Whereas
and again,
in the
it's
Land
like
of Departure, he almost kills Aqua, but he can't win against a big blue monster. It's so
well, and again,
dumb.
it's like they are funny. Those moments are funny. Like, but I should not think it's funny that Woody is going, "Hey, can you just shut the fuck
Oh
up?"
yeah, roasting young Xehanort.
Yeah, it's like that is great, but I shouldn't then therefore get like I should be feeling like holy shit, Woody, he's gonna fucking kill you. But I've never seen anyone have that reaction. Everyone's reaction is you're like, yeah, fuck the organization. They're a bunch of losers. And it's like, I don't know if that's good to feel. And so like I just feel like a lot of like this kind of goes into Kingdom Hearts 3 as a whole. And this is one of the things I said at the beginning, which is that Kingdom Hearts 3 made me realize, I don't actually care about the story of Kingdom Hearts Past 2. And what do I mean by that? Well, Kingdom Hearts 2 ends in a pretty definitive way for a lot of characters.
Yep.
Roxas and Naminé have a bittersweet ending where they're stuck inside Riku, Sora and Kairi. But the kind of the idealistic kind of like fantasy idea is that, well, obviously Sora and Kairi are back together, which is the whole point of the series. So now they will be together, they'll fall in love, and so Roxas and Naminé vicariously will be able to live out their connection and their new bond. And while that's sad, that's like that is the contentment they can find in being a nobody. Axel fucking dies, so that sucks for him. And then obviously like a lot of other stuff happens. And then 358 takes place before post 2, and that's a really tragic story for Shion. And it's one of the most like tragic stories in the whole series.
Yeah.
You look at all that stuff, and a lot of these stories, what you get from tragedies usually is they tell you something about life or the value of friendship or the value of the connections you make. Or just like they can explore like kind of out there concepts, like with being a nobody and how kind of nothingness is kind of like an extension of like if darkness is an extension of like anger and all these different things that Riku's feeling. Well, nothingness in terms of KH2 is kind of depression, or it's like being able to feel but not feeling anything, and that
Yes.
desire to like have feelings, even though like you can feel, but I don't feel anything. And that's kind of what nobodies represent, and why Roxas and all them are like the nobodies in general so fascinating, because they show emotion, or they seem to, and they want these hearts, but they can never have that, and they can never have autonomy. But then you have Roxas, who kind of stands in stark contrast to that, where he does find autonomy in a certain way, or he finds value in his worth and what he wants. And so there's just beautifully told stories through that. And what we get instead, what KH3 offers to the audience is, but that's really fucking sad, though. What if they just like they're good now, And like that's what 3 offers. That's the value it offers. It offers the idea of, no, actually, in the end, like things can just kind of fucking work out. We fixed it. Just grab a clone. Just get a replica. Doi, idiot.
I
There you
hate
go.
that
Put your
shit.
soul right in there. Pop it right in. And so you look at that and you go, well, wait a sec. Why did I want KH3 again? And the reason I wanted KH3 is that I love Sora, Donald, and Goofy. I love the aesthetic. I love the gameplay. That's what I was here for. I was here to see them just beat another big fucking bad guy. And I did get that. But for all the other characters, I realized that I was actually very content with where their stories ended. Obviously, there's the Birth by Sleep trio, who I don't give a shit about.
Oh
And then,
really?
there's
Oh wow.
yeah, like I've replayed Birth by Sleep a few times now, and I think they're dreadfully boring. But like, so I already didn't care about them. And then Riku, his character kind of gets a little extra time in Dream Drop Distance, and you can tell because in this game he doesn't do shit. So
Oh, he's
so
he's so bad in this game. Oh my
yeah.
god.
So 3 really made me realize, like, one, it made me appreciate 2's ending a lot more, which I already loved it. But there really is just something I think like when the only value you get from 3 is, man, for 10 years now, I've waited for these people who have like some of the most horrible endings, being fucking comatose and trapped in hell and, blah, 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 like possessed or whatever.
Mhm.
And then you have Roxas and Naminé and Shion and all these things. It's just nice that like that's not happening anymore. And that's like the point of their stories. I don't know. It just kind of feels like, oh well, and maybe you could do that a lot more. But if you notice in KH3, each of these characters get one cutscene to reunite and be together, and then they
Yeah.
get a little moment in the montage, and there you go. Fuck it. I'm Nomura. I gave you what you wanted. I'm going back to Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah. Well, I disagree about Birth by Sleep. I actually think Birth by Sleep has one of the strongest stories in the series. I really I don't really like Birth by Sleep overall, But I think the story of Birth by Sleep is really interesting. Again, I haven't played it in quite a while, but I might disagree after a recent replay. But I think the point of Kingdom Hearts 3 is it's not building on the stuff of KH1 and KH2. It's building off the stuff that it is 358/2 days. It is Birth by Sleep. It is Dream Drop Distance. And if somebody like me who actually I do care about things that happen in 358/2 days, and I care about Birth by Sleep, and I do care about the stuff that did happen in Dream Drop Distance, which was interesting, and I do like that game quite a bit. I definitely agree with the notion that my main attraction to the series of what I loved about it ended in KH2. And even 358/2 days, I did not need 358/2 days because they really did not make. They don't really mention Shion in 2, so it's like
she didn't exist.
Yeah, she doesn't. She doesn't exist. No one ever talks about her. They don't say like, "Oh, number 14."
And by the way, I mean that Nomura didn't think of her.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. He does. He does a lot of like George Lucas shit, like prequel shit, where it's like, "Oh, there's this little thing. Let's have it connect to an overall grand thing in the story." And it's like, nah, man. You clearly did not. You did not think that far ahead with having Luke kiss Leia in A New Hope. You really you did not think. You were not thinking this far ahead. So, and I get that. It's just with because it's a I have mixed feelings about it, because while I agree that I think Kingdom Hearts 2 should have just been the end of the franchise. I think Kingdom Hearts 2 to me feels more like Kingdom Hearts 3 than the actual Kingdom Hearts 3 feels like.
Oh, absolutely.
And Kingdom Hearts 3, what annoys me too about it is that it's not only ending the Dark Seeker saga, it's like dropping all these obnoxious breadcrumbs for the future, and it creates this awkward situation where you have these scenes of just like really just annoying exposition summing up the stuff that happened in the previous games with cutscenes, and like that sequence in Radiant Garden where Mickey and Riku are talking. That is so terrible. It's like one of the worst cutscenes I think in the game. And then you also have that moment when Sora, Donald, and Goofy, I think they're huddled around the gummy phone, and they're just like rattling off all the various things that happened in Dream Drop Distance. And it's like, dude, can you trust that I have played these past games without having to catch me up to speed? There's a reason Jiminy's Journal exists, for me to go in there and look at this shit at my own pace. I don't need you interrupting the game to give me a fucking Cliff Notes version of Birth by Sleep or Dream Drop Distance or any of this other shit. I don't care about getting a summary. Well, I am here.
And it doesn't. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
And then it has moments too where not only does it try to be like hastily summing up things that happened in the past, now they want you to be like, oh, look at this thing that has no significance whatsoever on the plot of Kingdom Hearts 3. That may be a thing in 4. We'll find out. See you in 10 years. Like the shit, like the box, which I think is just in Kingdom Hearts 3. I am curious what's in the box, but in Kingdom Hearts 3, just Maleficent and Pete running around like fucking Team Rocket being just absolutely useless. That was just again waste of cutscene money, waste of time. Did not need that shit. And then you have all the stuff like fucking Axel and Syax talking about, oh well, we snuck into Master Ansem's lab to save this girl, and she was gone.
Characters all along.
Yeah, and it's like, oh my god, it's like, guys, we don't need this stuff to. The fact that Sora dies at the end, that's all I need to know. Like, oh, there probably will be a Kingdom Hearts 4. That's all I needed. I did not need this other like breadcrumb shit or maybe even the epilogue. I'll give you that. Have the epilogue. Have your epilogue with all the foretellers and Lushu being fucking Zigbar. Yeah, thank you. And then have the really really cool secret movie where they're in Quadratum. Like, have that. That's fine. But just not during a game where you're trying to wrap all this other shit up, and then you forego really developing the good stuff that people came to see, like the reunion of the Birth by Sleep trio, like the reunion of Roxas, Shion, and Axel. Because like you said, all that shit, you get a cutscene, get the beach party, and that's it. That's all you get.
And you do get gameplay and Remind, but I want to remind people about Remind is that it's not that you get to like if you're a new person playing this game, you have to beat the game fully, watch the
Yes.
credits,
Yes.
then you get to do Remind. So it's not even like a KH2 Final Mix thing where like they just update what was there, you know? Like you don't have to play Kingdom Hearts 2 and then click a button and then it's like now you're back at World That Never Was. Would you like to fight Roxas? Like, you know,
Yeah.
like it's just in the game, you know? So like it's not even like naturally integrated well.
And then just what bothers me too with Remind and how that's integrated is that whole sequence where they fight Xehanort at the very end. I feel like that should have been the climax of Kingdom Hearts 3 rather than them fighting Xehanort in Scala at Kylam. But because it's like you already had all this shit happen, it's like, oh, okay, well, here you go, do it all over again, but you get like a little bit of added context here and there. And it's so fucking frustrating. Yeah, hooray. And then it's not at all massaged in there and naturally integrated like the final mix of hell, even like the final mix of 1 that adds stuff in.
Yeah, because they just make it now this is the base game. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's completely works. I also wanted to say that KH3, now Kingdom Hearts games have always had weirdness in awkward pacing in their cutscenes. Now in KH1 and 2, it was more sporadic. Oftentimes the weirdness would come from lack of music, especially in 2. That's where it failed. KH1 best pacing. It because again, like a lot of one of the writers was like a manga writer, and so like you can tell the pacing and like the directing really like actually like leans into it a lot. Like they do little visual cues that are really well done. And so but KH1 still also has moments where like there's no music, characters are talking, it's very slow. And KH2 has those moments too. But KH1 and 2 are significantly faster in their cutscenes.
Yes.
Not only in how much information they get across, but just like the back and forth. Like there is actually pacing to the back and forth. Again, sometimes there's not. Sometimes they fail at this. And like, you know, it's awkward. KH3 is what people meme that KH1 and 2 are.
Yes.
It is so fucking slow. There is a pause after every sentence. It is so bad. and the problem is often what they're doing is expositing to you. So like you're not getting like fun character interactions. You're just getting information as slowly as possible.
Yeah.
You know? And it's really really bad. And I don't know what's happening. I also think the voice acting is worse for it because obviously they have to sync up with this pacing, which makes everyone sound slower. Like Pete in like KH2, he's just like rattling off like just really funny lines and just like really fast. But in this, he has to slow down because he has to keep up with the pacing. Same with Hades. Like Hades in like 1 and 2, like he sounds like the movie, you know? But in this, he has to be like, you know, oh, I was thinking of this. Happy track. You know, and it's just like the characters just all so low, and so that basically like all the problems we have with the cutscenes and the story already are exasperated by the fact that it's just so slow. This just feels like the peak of that, and I really hope they get that figured out in 4 because I was it's unbelievable at points like how slow it is and how still it sounds.
Yeah, speaking of meme, this game, I defend Kingdom Hearts like from people that call it like, you know, oh, there's so many anime grunts in it, but my god, it was really noticeable this time around how many anime grunts there are in this game, especially when you compare it to like Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, which they have the anime grunts obviously, and I don't necessarily find them a problem. I think they're endearing in like 1 and 2. But in Kingdom Hearts 3, there are so many like moments of
Yeah.
There's a moment like when Sora and Riku are in the realm of darkness before the climax, and he's like, I got this, and Riku's just like, and there's this pause, and then there's a and then he pauses again, and then he runs off to help Mickey. And I'm like, oh my god, no! This is what people make fun of me for liking this.
Well, and remember in like Kingdom Hearts 2, and especially Chain of Memories, where there were actually like fight scenes in some of the cutscenes, like especially Axis fight.
Yeah.
But then you have 3, and everyone thinks they're in a turn-based combat game or something. And, and like this is where like Donald and Goofy, I gotta give them all the credit in the world. They are the only ones who fucking try to fight the bad guys because when Sora get murdered, King Mickey, Riku, and everyone's just like, no, if only I could be there to help you. And Goofy's like, well, what the fuck? I guess I gotta do it.
It's so frustrating how many times a villain will be standing there and like Sora in particular just kind of goes like, huh? Nothing else in this game bothers me anywhere near as much as the infamous like Kairi wrist grabbing thing where Sora like he just stands there and let Xemnas monologue. He's just like oh, you have your own lights. What more? And that like before Xemnas even finishes that sentence, Sora could have at least made an effort to like fly towards Xemnas, Keyblade in hand, to like knock him on his ass. That, do you know how cool of a moment that would have been if he had done that? If it would have subverted the whole notion that these characters don't do anything when a villain is monologuing. But it's like, it's again just the most negative stereotype of the different kinds of stupid like plot armor or villain monologuing tropes that this series has. It's like they're at their absolute most parody level at Kingdom Hearts 3.
Yeah, it's like cranked up to the max.
Yeah.
And I guess perfect because I'm trying to think for the story wise. The last thing that I really cared to talk about is the characterization of, I mean, if there's more stuff, we'll talk about it. But like for now, I want to talk about the characterization of Sora and Donald and Goofy. So Sora, very clearly, he like fell down some stairs and he's not doing well because I think he de-aged, not just from KH2, but from KH1. Because you know how in KH1 and 2, he had that moment where he's like, oh shit, a pirate ship? Well, that's pretty fucking cool. And it's just like a little moment of like, a little joy from Sora. Sora, he is a brand new baby boy. He thinks the world is the coolest fucking shit he's ever seen. And everything, like the way I describe him is he's wowie zowie Sora. Everything. Oh my gosh, the fucking bridge. Oh my gosh, there's a snowman. And like Sora was not like this in 1 and 2 at all. Sora in 1 is like a little sassy boy. You're stupid. He's a little sassy boy. And then in 2, he's even more sassy. Like he's a fucking like asshole at times to like especially like the nobodies. He like really wants to fucking fight everyone. And like in 2, he has the energy. He's dumb in the sense that he's a punk. So he's like, oh fucking Hades, you want to fight? And then like Hades like flicks him or whatever. Or he's like, oh shit, the 2 pizzas look exactly the same. What do we do? I'm gonna kick their ass. Like he has the shonen vibe, right? Of like a Luffy or just like a headstrong delinquent type. That's kind of like the vibe they were going for. 3, they make him the like wide-eyed adventurous hero boy, which he never was in 1, because in 1 he didn't give a shit about going to other worlds that much. He didn't care as Riku, because Riku is the one who's like, I really want to get out of here. This is like a personal journey. And then Sora, he's just chilling out on like the thing. He's like, well, fuck, if Kairi's going, heck yeah. Mm-hmm. Like, he wants to see worlds, but he's not like, holy shit, the world, man. And so like, I think that 3, and this is exacerbated obviously by the fact that Haley Joel Osment is like fucking 38 or whatever.
Yeah.
So he's not like when he was doing KH2, he was like 17. So he was actually a teenager. And in KH1, he was a little baby boy. So like they sound like they're supposed to be. But in 3, he's trying to do he's trying to do KH2 Sora with KH1 Sora's inflection. And it sounds really, really, really bad a lot of the times, and makes him seem like, did you de-age Sora? Are you okay? Like,
I think there's the issue I have with Sora in this game is that it's almost like there's a different kind of naivete with him in this one. And I think that kind of naivete works in Kingdom Hearts 1, and even there I don't think it's as pronounced as it is in Kingdom Hearts 3.
No.
Because Sora he really does not choose to go on this journey in Kingdom Hearts 1. It's kind of thrust onto him by the arrival of the Heartless. So it makes him going out into these worlds not only, fun in a sense, but scary as well, sad, the bittersweet that his home has been, taken from him. There isn't this like, oh my god, let's go, there's a talking snowman, oh, there's a tower, well, that's so cool, oh my god. It doesn't have that like that bright-eyed bushy tail shit that Sora does. Now I think in most respects in Kingdom Hearts 3, it is charming, even though I don't think it fits, even though I don't really think it makes much sense. I find it personally charming, but what I can't fucking stand in Kingdom Hearts 3 are the endless, endless like platitudes that Sora, it's like Sora gets up on his soapbox and starts preaching to people about the
Oh,
power of hearts. And
it's the parody thing where
yeah,
like Kingdom Hearts
it
1
is.
and 2 actually didn't do this that much. In
No.
2, I don't think Sora ever in a Disney world, and in terms of, he only literally has an opinion on friendship when Tron, who is like, he's like, I don't understand why I want to help them, and he sort of just says, friends, they help each other. And then
Yes.
Iago, when Iago is just like, well, I want to be a good friend like Genie, who like does things for people. He's like, oh, well, no, Iago. It's not about like doing things for people. It's just like if we like hanging out with each other.
Yeah.
Like Sora's just very casual about it. 3 is the meme that people say where he's like he literally stops Davy Jones, who's like fucking murdered like Will Turner. He's
Oh
like,
my
not
god.
knowing love, but I do know that friendship is a thing, and it's like a good thing too. So you need to take that back, Mixter.
And then it's also the part in Big Hero 6 when they're confronting Dark Riku, and all the characters are like, friendship is smiling and doing silly things. Friendship is being there when you most expect. It's like,
It's not the sum of our parts, it's the sum of our hearts.
Oh, that was the oh god, that made me want to vomit when I'm like, I don't remember that line. That is a horrible, horrible line. And I'm like, what the fuck did I turn into? Did I turn into like Sesame Street for some shit? Like, this is again, this is the parody level of this. This is exactly what people who don't know Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 see when they look at Kingdom Hearts. They just see some big spiky kid with Donald and Goofy preaching about the power of love and friendship and hearts. It's like Nomura saw this and went, well, I'll show you. And he just like fucking went to town on it in Kingdom Hearts 3. And it's so obnoxious after it stops being endearing and heartwarming after a certain point and just becomes cringy and obnoxious. And I don't like it in Kingdom Hearts 3.
No, I agree. Well, like in Cage 2, like for example, like when Beast is like, oh yeah, no, remember this? Remember in Cage 2 when Simba's being like a pussy bitch and he's like, I'm not gonna be king, I can't fight Scar. And so Sora, Donald, and Goofy like fucking hide in a bush and they're just like, wow, Simba's such a bitch, he can't fight Scar.
Yeah.
And then he's like, thanks guys, I'm glad that I have friends who will like actually like, you know, kick me in the ass and get me into shape.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
I remember one of my friends, she has never played Kingdom Hearts, even though she's like a diehard Disney fan. I was like talking to her about it one day. She showed me that exact moment from Kingdom Hearts 2 where they hide in the bushes and talk shit to Simba to get him out of his funk. And she saw that moment like out of context, and she saw that and she's just like, oh, this is just dumb. This is what Kingdom Hearts is. They just do this weirdo friendship shit like this. And I'm like, no, that's not what this is. It's what people who don't really understand Kingdom Hearts, that's all they see. And it's almost like Nomura is one of those people where he just goes, it's like he thinks his own creation is dumb and silly. And that's another thing that bothers me about Kingdom Hearts 3 is that it's almost like Nomura gave in to the constant. It's very self-aware, and he gave into the constant bombardment of people who, I'm just gonna say it, who are not true Kingdom Hearts fans, who make fun of this series and just say like, oh, this is what this parody level shit is what happens in Kingdom Hearts like 1 and 2. And it's almost like Nomura saw all of this and went, yeah, I agree. Let's just make it dumb. And it's almost like he's backing down on his own creation and just giving in to like, let's just make it silly. Fuck it. Let's just go ahead and do that.
Yeah, it's like, it's cringe, so I'll just embrace it.
Exactly. Know? Yeah. I made a tweet about this when Forspoken came out, the shitty Square Enix game that came out last year. And people were talking about like, oh, well, I don't know why people are making fun of Forspoken's dialogue when they make shit like Kingdom Hearts, and Kingdom Hearts does this kind of shit. And I'm like, no. Kingdom Hearts is self-aware of its silliness, but it also has an air of sincerity to it, where it isn't, it knows it's silly, but it uses it in a way that is actually endearing and that almost strengthens the moments when it becomes serious. It's not just everything is goofy and stupid in Kingdom Hearts. And it's
Yeah,
almost like
there's no way the writers in 2 don't understand that every character saying Sora, Donald, and Goofy in that exact order is funny.
yes.
But they're not poking fun at like, oh, that's
No, they're
fucking
not.
stupid. They just do it because like that's a trope they want to do. That's like a fun thing they want to do.
Yeah,
You know?
and it almost feels like Kingdom Hearts 3 has this, at times, almost this mocking sense of superiority to it, where it's like, yeah, we know this is dumb. Fuck it. We know that this, like, it's almost like it's validating the people in a weird fucked up way. It's almost like it's validating the people who have been making fun of Kingdom Hearts for years, because they're going to see this like parody level shit in Kingdom Hearts 3 and go, see, I told you it was stupid. And they have all of these examples, rightfully so, all of these examples from Kingdom Hearts 3. I mean, all you gotta do, you don't even need to look any further than watch the Donkey video that he put out for, where he would just bash the shit out of Kingdom Hearts 3. And he used all of these examples of just the dumbest shit in that game. And I went, yeah, I really like Kingdom Hearts 3, but it's really hard to argue with him when he's presenting objectively what's in the game so clearly and truthfully.
That's what like all the Disney scenes are, where they're like, you know what, you suck, idiot. You know?
Yeah.
Like when Luxord shows up and he's like, well, I invoke Parlay, and
God.
Jack is just like, hey, shut the fuck up, bleh, and then like he falls. You know?
Yeah. All he does is just breathe his breath on Luxord, and Luxord just falls off the ship because Jack's breath is stinky.
Because lol. And again, by the way, I to add more to the Belle scene, like where she hits Zaldin, we have to remember she is not hitting Zaldin because she's like the organization are annoying. She hits Zaldin because Zaldin has been manipulating, literally possessing the beast.
Yes.
And using her as a hostage in order to make him choose, like, do you want this or this? And she says, fuck you, I'm not going to be your fucking hostage.
Yes.
And then I, again, remind you, Zaldin doesn't go, well, beast, fight a heartless. Fuck you, you'll give it to the darkness one day. No, he goes, all right, well, time to kill all of you. And then he does, because he's really powerful.
Yeah. Yeah, he's exceptionally strong.
Like, it doesn't come across as like, oh, Belle is stronger than Zaldin. It comes off as him going, oh shit, I didn't expect that. Well, fuck.
I like how with Zaldin in Kingdom Hearts, this is an aside, but I like how in Zaldin they make him like, it's almost like they are structuring it in a way where he's an unwinnable fight without King Mickey. Even though I have beaten him without dying. I know that's possible.
Oh yeah, I've done it plenty of times.
Yeah. But I always loved that in Kingdom Hearts 2, and it was and that was your very first real fight against an Organization 13 member in KH2.
Besides Demix, which also was really hard.
Which besides Atlantica, I hate that fucking fight. But it when you fight Zaldin, when you finally get a real fight against an Organization 13 member, he's not fucking around. It is hard. And he's actually a force to be reckoned with, and you're expected to die, and that's why they have King Mickey be a mechanic strictly for that fight. But in Kingdom Hearts 3, it's almost like, whatever, fight 3 of them at the same time because we gotta rush the story along. And it's like, and then they when they die, it's like the fight. It's like, hold it. Everybody just go to your corners. This character now has their death scene. They're dead. Okay, now come back to the center and fight. And it's like, again, at the time when Kingdom Hearts 3 was first coming out, when I saw those moments, I'm like, yeah, it's weird, but when you're getting the shit that you kind of came here to see, it's like, okay, whatever. Now it's like I watch it and I go, this is the dumbest fucking thing I've maybe ever seen in the series.
What it does is it robs the actual fight of any stakes.
Yes.
And instead it goes, no, we understand that like you're just gonna kick their ass, so like that doesn't matter. What matters is that you get your little scenes, and like the fight, that's just like filler.
Yeah.
And so it like robs the Keyblade War, the war of like the actual war part.
Here's one thing too. I have played Kingdom Hearts 3 multiple times. I have done extensive research on the lore of Kingdom Hearts over the years, and I have watched I think I have watched every single cutscene from the mobile game, Key, including the sequel series that they did afterwards. And I would be hard pressed to explain the Keyblade War in a way that actually makes sense in the context of Kingdom Hearts 3. And all they ever do, it's like, you have to do this. And it's like, why? Why do we have to do this? Why do we have to start this Keyblade War? I've never really fully bought into this point of the Keyblade War being this big deal in Kingdom Hearts 3. It's like, what? Because some asshole wrote in the Book of Prophecies that on that faded land, the you know,
You gotta
darkness
do
will
it.
prevail and light will expire and all that shit. It's like, okay, I get that it's like a prophecy, but again, the prophecy doesn't mean shit by the end of Kingdom Hearts 3 because you just have young Xehanort and young Ericus in the chess game. They just go, oh, never mind. Really, yeah, the prophecy happened, but there's more. There's more to this chess game, and it's like, okay, well,
Well,
what did
and
that mean exactly?
yeah, the problem is there is no heart to the Keyblade Graveyard. The only heart that's
No.
there, we as the audience knew was going to happen, which is that Roxas was going to come back, Shion's going to come back, Caravan and Aqua. Like,
Yes.
none of that is in the story for like our characters. They're doing it because they were fucking told to.
Yeah.
You know? Like that's the whole deal behind it. And that's why like it's just so like again, in Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, both of them also have very like, well, we need to take out Ansem because like Ansem's gonna fucking kill everybody by opening Kingdom Hearts.
There's real
We need to
stakes. Yes.
yeah, but like there's character motivations behind what's happening. For example, like Sora at the start of the game, again, he's more relaxed and lazy. He doesn't want to do this. But now he not only like wants to save Riku, but he's like, I have a duty to like save the world and like I care about the world and I want to protect it.
Mm-hmm.
And then KH2, obviously, it's you have Zemnis who kind of like is on his last leg and he kind of embodies like the souls of like the nobodies and like what they're all about and like anger and hate and you know all that stuff. But the actual character thing is that Riku and Sora are finally together. They're finally friends. They're finally working together. And the final fight, the final like 5 versions of the fight is literally just this is what you waited for is Sora and Riku finally being the 2 best friends they were meant to be. And they fucking kick ass and protect each other. And that's what the final fight's all about. Zemnis could have been anybody, you know, because that's the heart of what's going on. The heart of what's going on in Kingdom Hearts 3 is, well, we said we would do this, so we might as well.
Yeah. Again, it feels more like an obligation than something that was like a natural point to come here. It just feels like we need a conflict in a numbered game. Here you go. Here we are. It's the Keyblade War. Don't think about it too much. Don't question it. It's the Keyblade War. It needs to happen. They need to have their 13 darknesses and their 7 lights. It's like, here we go.
Yeah, well, and even think of like what it like Sora when he talks to Xehanort, and Xehanort's like, I needed to rule the world and make the light and darkness equal and blah blah blah. And then Sora's like, well, you know, a real leader knows when they shouldn't do stuff and accepts that. It's like, Sora, what the fuck are you talking about? What does that mean? Like, oh, a real leader would have done this. Like, Sora, who the fuck? What do you mean? What has being a leader ever meant anything ever to you? Like, your whole thing is that you can't be a leader because your friends are your power, which you out whenever all of them die. So, like, there's not even like a thematic comparison of that and all that. You know, just it's all bullshit. But hey, so I wanted to talk about my 2 favorite characters in all of Kingdom Hearts and how I don't like them in this game. So can I do that?
Sure, go for it.
So my 2 favorite characters in all of Kingdom Hearts, Donald and Goofy. Now I have no attachment to like Donald and Goofy outside of Kingdom Hearts. Like I didn't watch like their shows as a kid or any of that stuff or like the shorts or you know any of that. I watched like House of Mouse, but like they were just like there, you know. They're the Disney
Mouse.
Yeah. They were just like the Disney mascots who were like doing that, and I just liked all the crossover stuff and just like it was something to watch. So like I have no attachment to them outside of Kingdom Hearts. And the reason I love them in Kingdom Hearts is I love their dynamic with Sora. I love how in KH1 we actually see them go from like, you know, they're just working together because they have to actually being true friends and like sort of like Donald is genuinely like really torn up whenever like Sora dies. He's like calling out to him and all this stuff, and like Goofy's being like a really good friend. But then you get to and Chain of Memories really tests their relationship, where Sora is literally like betraying them and like turning on them because his memories are being erased, but they still stick by him, which is really great. But then KH2 comes around, and KH2 is my favorite because in that game they're just all in sync. Like the first thing they do when they see each other is they hold hands and dance around in a circle like schoolgirls because they just that their buddies are here and like they really feel like a unit. They feel like Sora, Donald, and Goofy. And like a lot of their limits really test that. And one of like the like just the best scenes in like the series for me is when they're like, well, you know, we saved the world. You know, Riku's out of the realm of darkness, so I'm gonna go look for him. What are you guys gonna do? And they're like, Sora.
Oh yeah.
What the fuck? what the fuck, man? And he's
Yeah.
like, you guys are funny. And then it's like, because what they're saying is like, dude, do you really have to ask? Of course we want to help you. Duh. Like, and it's like really sweet and really
Yeah.
cute.
Great moment.
That comes back in like Call of Bastion when their king is literally right in front of them. And he's like, go do this. And they're like, and Sora's like, I want to do this. And they're like, all right, fine. Because they love Sora and they want to protect him. And
Yeah.
they're all bros. And they just love each other in KH2. And it's really good. And sometimes they'll even rib each other. Like whenever they're like, I really thought Donald was going to give into the curse of the treasure. And Goofy's like, oh, me too. He's like, what? And they fucking, they play around with each other and stuff. KH3 takes that like brotherly bond and like just like them all just being completely in sync. And instead it goes, what if it seems like Nomura was like, oh yeah, didn't I make a game where like there's like a bunch of bros like going on an adventure? It wasn't like Final Fantasy 15. Okay, so what Sora, Donald, and Goofy need to do is they just need to all be fucking assholes to each other and like ribbing each other constantly. And like all of that like sincere love for each other. We'll save that for like the end of the game. But otherwise, what Sora, Donald, and Goofy do is Donald mocks Sora because he can't count, or Goofy literally pushes Sora whenever he's trying to talk to King Mickey, or they just have all these moments where like Donald and like Sora, it doesn't feel like they're ribbing each other. It feels like they're just sniping at each other for no reason. And I just don't like it. I don't like that in KH3 they've changed their like really close-knit bond to, all right, now we're at the stage where Sora's pretty dumb, right? Yeah, Donald's kind of annoying, isn't he? Oh, Sora and Donald, like, they grumble and complain a lot, but whatever. And I just don't like it. But then you get to when they are emotional, when they are like 3 half pints make a hole or whatever. Or, Sora's literally mocking Donald's face. He's like, haha, I can't be sincere. Donald, you have a cringy face, nerd. And then he runs off. So then you get to when they are being sincere. And they've gone from like brothers to Donald and Goofy are like Sora's dads. Where they're like, now Sora, you be careful in there. We're watching out for you, little buddy. Oh, Sora's having a good day at the fair. He wants to see the talking snowman. And I just really think that it flanderizes those two in a way that just feels like really weird. But it does still have a great moment, which is obviously whenever Sora literally dies and they talk through your controller and they bring him back to life, the power of friendship, and they say, they save Sora. That moment is incredible, and I genuinely love that. And I also genuinely love that they are here to help Sora fight the final boss. I think that is perfectly in line, and they deserve it. Damn it, they fought with him through all of this shit, But there's no moment in KH3 that captures like the pure like just joy and love they have and like confidence they have in each other than the moment in Kingdom Hearts 2 where they are surrounded by 1,000 Heartless, and they're like, we have to get through this. And then Sora just looks back, and without a word, they all look at each other and they just go like, they give a thumbs up, and then they dive into battle. That moment to me solidifies like their entire journey of just like, hey, we all got this. We got each other's back. Let's go. You all okay? Yeah, I'm okay. Let's go. Like it embodies like just how far they've come. And I just feel like in 3, they've really diluted that from that close-knit bond to either parents who are just like, oh, Sora's being a cute little boy, or literally just bullying Sora. And I really don't like it.
So I think this is one of the disagreements we have about Kingdom Hearts 3, because I really like the bond between Sora, Donald, and Goofy in this one. And I think if you didn't have the context of what happened in KH1 and KH2, it would come across as a little strange, like they're constant like ribbing each other. But I think it's because like the relationship that I see in them in this game is the relationship that I have with a lot of like my personal close friends, where we're constantly just like ribbing each other. But there is this understanding of we're doing this all in good fun. We're not doing this meant to be actually insulting. And I like that when shit does hit the fan, they're like they drop the act and they actually do genuinely care for one another. I love the moment when Sora is about to go into the realm of darkness and Donald and Goofy are like, no, we're coming with you. Like we're doing this. And Sora goes like, well, if I don't come back, someone needs to carry on. And Donald just has this look of like, don't talk like that. Like, come on. Like, what are you doing? And I love shit like that. And that to me, if moments like that didn't exist, if they weren't sprinkled out throughout Kingdom Hearts 3, I would agree with you on that opinion about their sort of like more like dickish dynamic in this one. But I see a lot of myself personally in that relationship in this one. More probably actually like more probably like for the first time since Kingdom Hearts 1, because Kingdom Hearts 1 has more of like the ribbing between each other, and Kingdom Hearts 2 kind of dials that down. But
Yeah.
actually, I can't really think of like really a moment where they like openly mock Sora like they do in the Kingdom Hearts
Oh,
3.
no. Yeah, they never do that in 2.
No,
They never mock.
but I find that charming that they openly mock him, and it's not like you're terrible, you're garbage. It's just kind of like little like snarky offsides here and there, and
You know what
I
it
like
might
that
be?
kind of
It
stuff.
might it might be the fact that they're literally right because he is just dumber in this game, and I don't like that.
Maybe, yeah,
Maybe that's what makes it more annoying is like, guys, why did you make Sora actually dumb? So
and
then
I
his
like that,
friends can be like, wow, Sora, he's a little baby boy. He wants to
yeah,
play with the snowman.
and I like that they use it for visual comedy as well. Like when the bit in Jensen's tower when Donald is like talking about how how Sora doesn't have the power of waking, and he's like he's still not quite there, and you just see Sora's like feet and legs just right there in the background, and then it doesn't like cut up to Sora going like huh, the camera just stays on Donald, and then you just have Sora bend down and go like I'm right here. So they do use it, I think, for visual comedy in this. I would say this is actually the funniest game in the series since KH1. And I think there are some like laugh out loud moments in Kingdom Hearts 2. But I think just the dynamic of the group, I guess I just don't mind it as much in Kingdom Hearts 3. Like it like it
Yeah, that's fair.
bothers you. Because
Yeah.
I see more of myself personally in it compared to 2 or lesser extent 1.
Yeah, I guess for me, like cuz like I also have that dynamic with my friends. Like I love, ribbing them or whatever. But I think that's probably why 2 stuck out to me is that I
Mhm.
really that they were just all completely on each other's side. And like there's like again one moment where they like rib Donald, which is in like Port Royal. But like that felt more like in those moments that is kind of like what's so fun. Where it's like they'll have little moments where like they don't step outside like it doesn't feel like they're pushing too hard on it. It just feels like they're just completely in sync. And I think that really fits for that game because again they're Sora, Donald, Goofy, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so like them kind of just all like, especially after KH1 where they are like the especially like Donald and Sora. Like Donald and Sora are like kind of like against each other in most of KH1. And Donald doesn't even really like Sora for most of it.
Which is
So
great, which helps that game increase that helps them increase their bond all the more
yes,
later
and that's
when you
yeah,
have
exactly. That's
conflict.
why that's why I think 2 is stronger, not because KH1's worse, but because KH1 then props up the fact that in 2, like when Sora gets punched by like Ling or whatever in Mulan, Donald's like, "What the fuck you do to my boy?" And
Yeah,
he and he dives
yeah.
in. And so I prefer that diehard dedication because of KH1. Whereas like I guess for you, right, you're kind of saying similar, where it's like because KH2 they're so dedicated to each other, it feels like now the next natural step is now they're really comfortable with each other, so they're starting to rib each other.
Yes, exactly.
Um, and for me, like I just don't think it's done very well. But also, again, that has to do with the fact that Sora does just feel dumber and more like kiddish. So it kind of feels like
Mm.
if he was KH2 Sora, who has like his younger voice, his more confidence and cockiness, then like it would feel like he would be able to like punch back. But it really just seems like they just punch him. And he doesn't really get to like say anything back. He's just like, "What? What? No! Oh, come on, Donald! Oh, Goofy!" And so I'm just like, Sora, fucking fight back. They're bullying you. The duck is bullying you. But yeah, I guess also when I think of like kind of like their dynamic in 2, what's kind of fun is like so there's the scene where they go in and they talk to Minnie. And Donald and Goofy are like in there like, oh, hello, master, the prince, the queen, and they like do a
Hmm.
little 10 hut. And then Sora walks up and he just puts
Hey
his hand on
there.
like, oh, what's up?
Yeah, he just goes, "Hey there."
Well, yeah, he says, "Hey there," but then he walks up to Goofy and he grabs his shoulder and then he puts his hand on Donald's head and Donald's like, "What the fuck? Get off me!" And then and Sora just looks down like, "Okay, dude, jeez Louise." And then Goofy's like, "Holy shit, I didn't think you were there." And then what happens is that like Queen Minnie, she's like, "I don't know who this kid is." So then Donald jumps up, grabs him by the head, and like pulls him down. He's
Oh
like,
yeah,
"Excuse
yeah,
is our friend Sora." That's the kind of ribbing I'm okay with, where it's not like Sora's a fucking dummy. It's like, Sora, show some fucking respect. And he's like, oh shit, I'm sorry. Like that feels like more like what I would be okay with. But that I think we've both made our points on those side. I just want to get that
yeah. Oh yeah.
across. But hey, um, if you had any other points, I have one last thing to talk about.
Oh, go
Unless you had
ahead. No, go ahead.
which is Final Fantasy.
Oh, yes.
So as we all know,
Ugh.
KH3 did not have any Final Fantasy outside of a reference to like a cactus guy and the Moogles, obviously.
Mhm.
So why is this bad? Because the big cope from the Kingdom Hearts community is, well, you see, we didn't need Final Fantasy. Like, they don't matter to the story.
Ugh.
And two, like we have they were supposed to supplant the original characters, which is true. And therefore, now that we have a bunch of original characters, we don't need Final Fantasy. And this pisses me off because the way this is structured is as if Kingdom Hearts, mind you, is a series. This frames it as Kingdom Hearts is a series that uses its time wisely. There is never a moment in Kingdom Hearts where we just indulge in fun, or there's never a moment in Kingdom Hearts' story where we're just fucking wasting time with exposition or things that don't matter. There's never a time in Kingdom Hearts where we're just, I don't know, fucking building a snowman that has nothing to do with anything. So where could you possibly put Cloud Strife? He just wouldn't fit in this finely crafted narrative. It's fucking stupid. Here is the number one reason Final Fantasy should be in every single Kingdom Hearts game. Not only in every single Kingdom Hearts game, a Final Fantasy character should be in every fucking world in a Kingdom Hearts game. They should be everywhere. And the reason why is because it's fun. That is why. The reason the Final Fantasy characters were fun is because they're fucking Final Fantasy characters hanging out with Disney characters. That is fun. They are cool. They fucking fight shit. That is why they should be there, because they are fucking cool and they are fun. There is no reason to not have them there, because they should just be there because it's fun. That's the whole premise. Kingdom Hearts is you're hanging out with Disney characters, which rarely matter to the story 95% of the time, like in terms of like while you're there. Obviously, there might be parts that matter to the story, but like you're just hanging out with the fucking characters. That's why it's cool. So this whole idea that they shouldn't be there, that they don't have a place, first of all, also, in Kingdom Hearts 2 especially, they are just characters. They're their own people that the game endears you to and that you want to care about. So there is no such that, like, I definitely care about Leon and the gang or what, way more than I care about it's Elsa or look, it's
Yeah.
fucking Woody. But yes, that literally factually was their purpose in KH1, is that they needed to give exposition and they wanted people to care, so they made them Final Fantasy characters. That's absolutely true. In KH2, that is not the case. They are all characters. Cypher's a character. Vivi gets like really cool like creative stuff use. Auron's a character who has like a whole little arc and like a connection to Sword and Goofy. The Final Fantasy characters are fun. That's why they should be there, because they're characters we care about. They are Kingdom Hearts characters at this point. And two, because it's literally just fun. There's no way it would take any more development time to make Olaf finding his body part section than to just make a Cloud Strife model that fights shit. It's unacceptable. So that's my rant.
I agree wholeheartedly. And what's sad in my case is that I think very initially when I played Kingdom Hearts 3, I was on that like coping side of like, well, it really wasn't necessary to have Final Fantasy in this, because I remember one of my best friends, when he played it, he quit like halfway through it because he was like, man, there's no Final Fantasy in this. This is dumb. This is boring. And I was like, well, it didn't really need Final Fantasy. And then I played it again, and I was like, you know what? Never mind. This needs Final Fantasy. And again, why? Because it is just fun. They could have come up with so many unique, creative crossovers between Final Fantasy and Disney for these worlds. And then it just the fact that we had to wait again until fucking Remind to get Leon and Yuffie, it's oh my god, it's like, dude, what are you doing? Like, this was the whole reason you made this fucking series, is to have it be Disney X Final Fantasy. But now it's just Disney, and Final Fantasy is just it's like they forgot that Final Fantasy is supposed to be a big part of this series. And it's baffling that they don't have this in this game. And I don't want to hear any excuses about, well, there wasn't any time, or they didn't really fit into the story. And again, like you mentioned, Olaf finding his body and you running around doing fuck all for that whole part of the game. Did that really need to be there? Did that add anything unique to the story? No. Do we really need to have Elsa doing Let It Go in its entirety while Sora, Donald, and Goofy look on and go, oh, I don't know what that was about, but she sure had a pretty voice? No, we did not need any of that shit. and it's like all that money, all that time you could have just used. You could have. They should have. You know what? Cut out Arendelle entirely. I hate to keep going back to Arendelle, but to me that world is indicative of everything I hate about Kingdom Hearts 3. Get rid of that world entirely. That money and that budget, that time, use that to add more Final Fantasy elements to the worlds that are actually decent to great in this game. Do that. Don't have fucking Elsa singing Let It Go while Sora, Donald, and Goofy are her captive audience. Like, just don't do that. Kingdom Hearts is... Let me repeat this for Nomura, in case he ever listens to this. Kingdom Hearts equals Disney plus Final Fantasy. Not plus with a question mark at the end of it. Plus
or
Final
plus
Fantasy.
Pixar.
Plus Pixar. I honestly, if they didn't have Pixar in this game at all and they made up for that with Final Fantasy, I think I would have been okay. Because not having Pixar in it, not having the obvious like Toy Story, that would have. You know what? Actually, I'll go even a step further. I don't mind the Monsters Inc. world. I like Monstropolis. Get rid of that. Get rid of Arendelle.
Cut 100 Acre Wood.
Cut 100 Acre Wood. Yeah. Put that money and time into adding Final Fantasy to these worlds.
Yeah.
Would it have made the game exponentially better? I don't know. But it definitely would have made the game better, and it would have improved the pacing quite a bit more.
And it would just been fun. Again,
like, been fun.
That's the thing it always comes down to. And that's where like I wonder, like, when people say this, I'm like, I just have to assume you never liked the Final Fantasy characters in the game, and you just saw them as worthless cameos. Because like, why would you ever be like, you know what? Like Cloud and like his story with Sephiroth, or just Sephiroth boss fight, or Leon and Yuffie and all them, and them trying to restore their home, and that was like literally the whole fucking like midsection of all of KH2 and like the start of the game and all that stuff. Yeah, like when I was playing that, like I didn't really care if they got their home or not. Like who even is like these characters? Like no, they were actually characters. Like they are Kingdom Hearts characters at this point. So a lot of them are very different from their original counterpart. So like yeah. All that is to say obviously it seems that Nomura got the message, because like he's had a few interviews where he's like, I was shocked. I didn't think people cared, so I think he's gonna probably try to fit some into the new games. But who knows? Maybe he's right. Maybe nobody cared. And like, I mean, this is always why like I always say, like, KH2, I really love the Disney characters. And people, when they talk about KH2 story, it's like, oh yeah, so there's like the beginning with Roxas, there's the middle at Hollow Bastion, and then there's the end. And the Disney worlds, even though that's literally like 70% of the entire game, yeah, like I just turn off my brain, like I don't even fucking care. There's like doing the movie or something, right? Yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that Sora has like fun, charming interactions with the characters, or that they thematically tie into him looking for his friends, or that they fit into the structure of like looking for Riku and Kairi, or that like Pete and Maleficent are set up in the first half, which subverts whenever they help you in the second half. Like all that stuff, like, fuck it. Is there an organization member on screen? No, so who cares? Yeah. And you look at that, and then you look at KH3, where people will then say, oh, it did Disney better, you see, because the Disney characters mocked the organization, and they showed up in all the worlds. And because they did that, it's good.
The only other thing I have to say about Final Fantasy, just because you put everything so succinctly, is that I find it hilarious, bitterly funny, that Noctis, the main character from Final Fantasy 15, was in what felt like every single game on the planet at the time of it being a thing, because Square Enix was obsessed with this cross-promotional shit with Final Fantasy 15, to the point where fucking Cup Noodle is in the game as a side quest, and a wearable hat that looks fucking stupid. But the one time it would have been, the one game, the one series, it would have made sense for Noctis to appear. Is he there? Nope. Not a peep. No Noctis whatsoever. Sort it out, Nomura. Seriously.
Figure it out, yeah. If I mean, this game literally had the gall to open up its game with Olympus, where they go, hey, Auron, Cloud Strife, Zack, they were Final Fantasy characters who got to be in this world, and this is a tradition that we do. Well, anyway.
Fuck that. Yeah, fuck all that shit. That doesn't mean... Throw that in the garbage. No one liked it. Throw it in the garbage.
Sorry. But we wanted to remind you they were here.
Yeah. They don't like having fun. Sorry.
Yeah, which
Uh,
is which is very like I'm sure for a lot of people, KH3 really is kind of the most fun game because it gives you so many crazy things you can do.
sure.
But I do, but for a lot of the things that I care about, it really feels like that part of the fun has been sucked out.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate. All those little details, all the final the crossovers and Final Fantasy and all that kind of stuff. That's what I used to. That's what I found fun. And I do think I do believe that like Nomura and his team definitely listen to criticism. Like Remind is proof of that. And again, like he knows that people want Final Fantasy back. Like he has said so in an interview. So and his thing was like, we'll try to figure out where to put them. Well, maybe they'll
Ugh.
fit in. It's like, oh my gosh, dude, just put them in. 10 on a more, I guess, positive note. Because I think this is 3 hours of shitting on KH3, which is amazing. But the thing that's always the case is that like no matter how bad KH3 like could or could not have been or was or wasn't, um, the game that I love, KH2 and 1, are always there, and nothing in them has been undermined because I have it right here. I can physically hold KH2 in my hand and
Yep.
go, this is KH2, you know?
Yep.
And I can play it, and when it rolls to credits and they pick up that bottle, I just go, they went on a new adventure. It's not
Yep.
like a TV show where it's like, well, this is part of the box set and there's like 2 more discs in here and it's like it's intrinsically tied. Like no, KH2 and KH1 and like just even the way they were developed, they were obviously developed with them as the focus, maybe a little bit of thought to the future, but they
Mhm.
were made to be the ending at the time. Even KH1 was made to be the ending of itself,
Yeah.
obviously.
That
Um,
has a great ending, and I think that could have worked as a standalone thing.
Yeah, as a bittersweet little adventure of a
Yeah.
boy, becoming a man. So,
Yep.
like, yeah, like at the end of the day, no matter what we have to say, like, I don't think Kingdom Hearts is a series. Oh, it's been ruined or whatever, or
No,
like
God, no.
it was tainted or whatever. No, those games always exist, and that Kingdom Hearts is actually a very fortunate series. Like the fact that these like HD remixes exist at all is like insane, and
It's a
also
miracle.
they're like cheap, like cheap,
Yep.
cheap. You can get every Kingdom Hearts game for like $35. That's insane. So like,
Yep.
so like Kingdom Hearts is in a good spot. I think Nomura is definitely probably more like seems way more passionate about the series now. And again, the thing that I loved about it is done, and the puppeted corpse that feels like KH3 is done. So therefore, 4 it can just do whatever the fuck it wants, right? And so I'm very excited for that. So
Mm.
I'm cautiously optimistic, but I'm leaning way more towards optimistic for Kingdom Hearts because it really just feels like
Oh, nice.
it's starting over again. So
Yeah.
yeah, well, I had a great time. I thought
Yeah.
this was super good. So
Yeah.
thank you very much for having me, as always.
Oh, thank you for coming. I always really enjoy talking to you, especially about Kingdom Hearts, and we will definitely reconvene when they when they decide to grace us with more Kingdom Hearts 4 footage.
Absolutely.
Alrighty. Well, thank you to everyone who watched. Go check out IanWaffles' channel. It's great. So if you haven't seen it yet, it's got some great Kingdom Hearts videos along with some other stuff like Archie Sonic and My Hero
Anime.
Academia, anime. I almost said anime.
Anime. Oh
Anime.
yeah.
But yeah. And thank you all for watching and getting through this 3-hour podcast. And we'll catch you all later. See ya.
Bye.